Chapter 2283. Chun Zhao only lifted his eyelids slightly and looked at Delia, who was smoking. And this kind of condescending attitude made Delia even more furious. This anger even made her reason start burning. Red smoke kept coming out of her head. Red gas. As the owner of red magic, she should be able to control the red gas for her own use. But now she seemed to be controlled by the gas instead. Looks like you're not in a good state either. Chun Zhao's lips curled into a smile. How do you know I'm not in a good state? Do you really think it's because I'm not in a good state? Not because I'm in a very good state? The scarlet aura didn't just change Delia's tone of voice. It also changed the tone of her voice. It was as if there was something hidden in her voice. Do you think I'm being controlled by something? Ah. Delia chuckled softly. Oh, from your tone, it seems like you have a new explanation for your current state. No one controls the other. Everything I do is voluntary. It and I are just using each other. It understands my intentions and I understand its thoughts. I know what I can get and I know what I need to pay. Chun Zhao shrugged. Looks like you're a smart person. Chun Zhao had seen many fallen people. Most of them had fallen with pitiful hopes. Even when they fell into darkness, they still had a sliver of hope. They felt that they didn't need to pay any price, or that they only needed to pay an extremely small price to obtain what others gave them. Delia seemed ignorant and naive, but she actually knew better than anyone else. That was why Chun Zhao said she was a smart person. The one who made the deal with you is that red demon, right? Isn't it obvious? Delia didn't deny it. He wants you to release him. Ha ha. Delia let out a mocking laugh. I'm not that naive and he's not that naive either. He wouldn't ask me to destroy the seal, because he knows that it's impossible for me to do so. Chun Zhao stood up with his arms propped up. Clapping his hands, he said, Then what's the deal? What? You want to deal with him too? Delia felt that Chun Zhao was interested in the power and path she had obtained. I'm just curious. Don't even think about it. You'll never get it. Delia did not believe him. Only someone like me, who practices scarlet magic, has the right to trade with him. Oh? Why not? I'm stronger than you, so I think he'll be more than happy to make a deal with me. You want to get information out of my mouth? Or are you trying to buy time? You've said so much. Don't you want to say more? After I break your arms and legs, I will seriously tell you the contents of the deal. Bang! Suddenly, Chun Zhao attacked without any warning. He grabbed Delia's neck and pressed her to the ground. You? Tell me what your deal is about, Chun Zhao said calmly. Delia was shocked. She wanted to struggle, but Chun Zhao wasn't as weak as she thought. No matter how hard she struggled, she couldn't shake off that unbreakable power. But this guy's aura was clearly weaker than a normal person's. How could he still be so strong? Logically speaking, he shouldn't even be able to move a finger. Just then, Angie, Bountu, Fee, and Orlando all stood up when they saw the conflict. What? You want to stop me? No, before Matthew left, he said that whatever you do is right. Angie said coldly. We won't cause trouble for you. That's good. Chun Zhao nodded and looked back at Delia. Tell me about the teachings of you and the red demon. Delia stared at Chun Zhao hatefully, but she still relented in the end. She was stubborn, but she wasn't an idiot. And she wasn't facing an idiot either. I damaged a part of the seal. Then he released the red gas from the crack in the seal for me to absorb, Delia said. Red magic seems to be very harmful to the spiritual world and normal society, but in reality it can't reach the level that people think it is, because all red magic relies on absorbing red gas as a foundation. You people are born with great talent and a powerful background. You don't understand how a marginal witch like me, who carries a sinful inheritance, struggles in the spiritual world. I'm weak and insignificant. I need to use all my strength to deal with a mere evil spirit, let alone become a top spiritualist. The more Delia spoke, the more indignant she became. Her eyes were filled with fury. Suddenly, Chun Zhao felt Delia's aura increase dozens of times. Boom! Chun Zhao was sent flying. Delia was already covered by the red aura. When I was sent here, all the bad luck seemed to have turned into good luck. The accumulation of the past 20 years finally produced good wine. Delia's aura was still increasing. This is the red battlefield, the birthplace of red magic. There's also what I need the most here. The red gas that's long been extinct in the outside world permeates the air here. I can absorb it without any worries. Every minute I stay here, my power increases a little. In just 2 days, my power has increased to an unimaginable level. And here, I've even come into contact with the source of everything, the red demon. The red gas I absorb is just released unconsciously. There's even purer red gas in his body. That's the power I've been dreaming of. Delia had already arrived before Chun Zhao, who was lying on the shattered ground. What I need to do is destroy the seal. 548 legends, Delia said calmly. Although I can't destroy it completely, with your stupidity, the 3 holy swords were still destroyed. Because of this, there's a gap in the 548 legends. The red demon also fulfilled his promise. He's transferring more power to me. He promised that as long as I can bear it, he'll satisfy me. Do you feel despair now? No, you're not strong enough, Chun Zhao said calmly. You're not strong enough to make me feel despair. Chapter 2284. This time, Delia wasn't angry. Instead, she laughed. Then what about now? Delia's aura skyrocketed again. It was an exponential increase. Her aura had already increased by more than 10 times. Now it doubled again. This made her aura even more terrifying and the red aura even more intense. She was like a demon covered in red steam. She howled in the red steam. The 3 holy swords you destroyed weren't enough to shake the entire seal, but it was just enough for the red demon's power to pass to me through the crack. Are you sure it's your power? Chun Zhao sneered at Delia. Are you trying to tell me that this external power can't be trusted? Delia lowered her head and looked at him. And then you're telling me to give up on this power? For others, the scarlet gas is a deadly and strange poison. However, for me, who has mastered the scarlet magic, it is an unprecedented energy replenishment. I can absolutely use and control this power. I will also become unprecedentedly powerful. Even Zhang Tianyi, even the 23rd generation Blood Mary, they will have to surrender to me. Chun Zhao looked at Delia. As the saying went, the ignorant were fearless. This sentence was most suitable for Delia. She didn't understand what level Zhang Tianyi and the 23rd Blood Mary were at. She also didn't understand how big the gap between them was. That was why she dared to say such arrogant words. Chun Zhao looked at Delia. You know nothing about power. You know nothing about power, Delia said in disdain. At the same time, she lifted her foot and prepared to step on his chest. But the next moment, a golden barrier blocked Delia's foot. But cracks also appeared on the golden barrier. It seemed like it would shatter at any moment. It was Angie who'd attacked. She spread her wings again. This time, her wings were pure white and flawless. There wasn't any red color at all. Delia turned to look at Angie, Bo Untu, Fee, and Orlando. Looks like you've all recovered a lot of magic. But are you sure you can beat my mom now? You can try, evil witch. Angie didn't hide her disgust for India. You still don't understand what true evil looks like. Delia let out a cold snort. Angie didn't want to say anything more. A dazzling light flashed in her hand, and then a long sword made of holy light condensed in her palm. The wings on Angie's back flapped, and she charged straight towards Delia. A hint of mockery was on Delia's face. It wasn't like she didn't know how to use offensive spells. However, the number of offensive spells she could use in the past was pitifully small, and their power was relatively mediocre. And as her power continued to grow, the number of spells she could choose from also increased. For example, even if an ant had enough ammunition to equip an army, the ant would not have enough strength to use it. But if this ant had the strength of a human, then it could choose many, many weapons. The same was true for Delia. In the past, her weakness and lowliness were just a form of disguise and self-protection. Humans were like this. The more they lacked something, the less they desired it. Delia felt that she didn't need to disguise anymore. The surging power in her body gave her the illusion that she was looking down on the world. She seemed to understand a lot of knowledge that she couldn't understand in the past. She waved her hand casually, and dozens of red arrows appeared around her. She pointed at Angie in the air. The dozens of red arrows shot at Angie. Angie blocked with her sword, but she seemed to be in a difficult position. "Watch out!" Seeing that Angie couldn't handle it, Orlando decisively helped her block a few arrows. Seeing Angie and Orlando in a difficult position, Delia's lips curled up slightly. In the past, spiritualists like Angie and Orlando were existences that Delia had to look up to. Now, they were in a difficult position after a random attack from her. This made her feel unprecedentedly satisfied. She couldn't stop her powerful strength. Just then, Bo-Untu and Fee stood up too. "Let's go together." This was definitely not the time to show their chivalry. They weren't in a good state right now. They'd only recovered 10 to 20% of their magic power. They were also very tired. If not to save Chen Zhao, they wouldn't even want to fight. In addition, Delia had displayed an unusual sense of power and pressure. If they still wanted to fight one-on-one now, they might be wiped out by Delia here. Delia's strength had come suddenly, but she wasn't unfamiliar with it at all. She waved her hand lightly, and the red gas turned into a giant. The attacks of Angie and the others landed on the red giant, dispersing into nothingness directly. "Use a little more strength. Is this all you've got?" Delia unscrupulously displayed her strength. The more powerless Angie and the others were, the more satisfied she was. The red giant casually punched the ground. A terrifying shockwave swept through the surroundings. Angie and the others were sent flying by the impact. "Too weak. You're really too weak. You disappoint me. I thought I could have a good fight." Delia didn't notice that there was a black shadow under her feet. Chun Zhao's dark lava silently spread to Delia's feet. However, Chun Zhao didn't attack immediately. Instead, he quietly absorbed the red gas. "I can absorb it." Chun Zhao realized that the red gas could be absorbed. Just like the other evil existences Chun Zhao had devoured in the past, the dark lava could devour them directly. Suddenly, India's laughter came to an abrupt halt. Was it an illusion? Confusion appeared on Delia's face. It was as if her power had dropped a little. But soon, the red demon's power surged over again. Delia immediately tossed the illusion to the back of her mind. But Delia's pleasure didn't last for too long. The feeling of falling back came again. The weakness came too suddenly. Delia didn't understand what was wrong with her at all. She didn't lack great power now, but she didn't have much battle experience. So, she didn't know the dark lava under her feet at all. But soon, an even stronger feeling of weakness came. Delia finally realized that her scarlet aura was diminishing. Immediately, Delia looked down and found that she was standing on a patch of dark magma. She'd seen Chun Zhao use this move before, so she immediately understood. Chapter 2285. How dare you steal my power? I want you dead. Delia was instantly enraged. This power belonged to her. She wouldn't allow anyone to touch it. But Chun Zhao had actually stolen her power. This made her completely explode. It was different from when she faced Angie, Bo-Untu, Fee, and Alterando. Against the four of them, Delia treated them like a game. It was a suppression of power. She could toy with them as she pleased. But Chun Zhao had stolen what belonged to her. This was what she cared about the most. All the scarlet gas turned back into a terrifying scarlet giant. It was even bigger and scarier than before. The scarlet energy in the surroundings was also rising. But in the next moment, the dark magma turned into a curtain that enveloped the scarlet giant. The scarlet giant rammed against the curtain. Delia's expression froze. She realized that her connection with the red giant had been cut off. The red giant had already used up most of her power. Now that the red giant had been devoured, she was even more furious. "Give it back!" The red gas around Delia turned into a huge red sword and slashed at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao only glanced at Delia casually. He didn't dodge. He just let the red sword slash his body. His body, which should have been cut open, stood there unharmed except for the cracked ground. Instead, the red sword fell apart, turning into red crystals that filled the sky. Delia was shocked. Angie, Bo-Untu, Fi, and Alterando all had the same expression. Was this still the weak Chen Zhao? Shouldn't Chen Zhao be defeated by Delia? Chen Zhao's aura was still small and insignificant. But now no one would believe that Chen Zhao was weak. That's it, Chen Zhao said casually. If that's the case, I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to face Zhang Tianyi and 23rd Blood Mary. Defeat them? Are you kidding me? Delia was shocked and furious. Chen Zhao's clearly weak but terrifying power made her hair stand on end. You thief! You stole my power. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to defeat me. Delia suddenly realized that it was definitely because Chen Zhao had stolen her power. Otherwise, how could the weak Chen Zhao defeat him? There was no reason for Chen Zhao to win. Chen Zhao shrugged, not planning to defend himself. I will use even greater power to defeat you. The scarlet aura in Delia's body began to fill up again. Chen Zhao didn't take the chance to attack Delia. The red aura in Delia's body was still very small to Chen Zhao, even insignificant. But to Chen Zhao it was like a supplement. It was better than nothing. This scarlet gas contained strong negative emotions, and it was very easy to incite people's anger. However, these negative emotions were nothing compared to the King of Wrath's bloodline. Chen Zhao also considered that it was probably because of his King of Wrath bloodline that he wasn't affected by the red gas. In some sense, the red gas was very similar to Chen Zhao's dark lava. It was just that one existed in liquid form. The other one existed in a gaseous state. As for the difference in color, it wasn't really a difference. For example, Chen Zhao's dark lava should have been called dark serum, but after it merged with the lava, it became black with a hint of red. Later on, the dark lava had devoured mutants or demons a few times, causing the black color to overshadow the red. So, the color of the dark serum would change according to different attributes and the host's growth. If the red gas was also the mutated dark serum of a demon with the King of Wrath bloodline, it was understandable. Delia's red aura was filled up again. She attacked Chen Zhao again. The process was different, but the result was the same. Delia stared at Chen Zhao in disbelief. Just like that, Chen Zhao faced her attack head-on. He didn't dodge or block, but her attack didn't do anything. To her, this was completely incomprehensible. Was it because her magic level was too low? Impossible. In the past, these spells would be catastrophic and destructive. The other four were dumbfounded too. They knew that Chen Zhao was powerful, but he was clearly very weak. How could he block Delia's attack when he was so weak? They couldn't understand. They couldn't understand. Chen Zhao just stood there listlessly. Looks like you don't have any other moves, Chen Zhao said calmly. Gritting her teeth, Delia kept staring at Chen Zhao. She really couldn't do anything. The most powerful spell was useless before Chen Zhao. She didn't know what to do either. Chen Zhao pointed at Delia. Are you ready to die? Panting, Delia looked at Chen Zhao. Her mind spun. Although Chen Zhao blocked all her attacks, he still couldn't move. But he hadn't really counterattacked. Even the black substance from before only wrapped around her scarlet giant and did not attack her directly. Maybe he couldn't even fight back. Maybe he's just bluffing now. Chen Zhao had absorbed quite a lot of scarlet aura. Although Delia's scarlet aura was endless, it was still too little. To Chen Zhao, an extra drop of water in a lake didn't mean much. So, there was no point in keeping Delia alive. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. The vibration was very unusual. It interrupted Chen Zhao's next move. Rumble. The entire barren market was shaking violently. Zhang Tianyi rushed to the edge of the roof and looked at a huge ball of fire in the distance. Over there. Zhang Tianyi frowned. He remembered that it should be the location of one of the seals. It was the only seal that hadn't been opened yet. Wendy's expression was unprecedentedly serious. All 4 seals have been opened. How is that possible? What exactly happened there? What's wrong? I've already monitored the area. There's no one nearby at all. Why was the seal still opened? You mean no one has been nearby? Zhang Tianyi asked, surprised. Yes, what's wrong? Not a single person. Not a single person. Is there a problem? That location isn't that remote. How is it possible that no one has approached that area? Chapter 2286. At this time, even when De found the problem, that area was not remote. Judging from the number of participants in the Battle of Holy Glory in the entire desolate market and the distribution of people, there should be people approaching that area. But the current situation was that no one approached that area at all. When De glanced at the place where the seal was unlocked in the distance and turned back to the monitoring room, the scene in that area of the monitoring room was still calm, and nothing had happened. And compared to the changes that had happened in that area in reality, how could one not understand that the monitoring screen had been tampered with? And this monitoring screen had been artificially modified, not by magic. There was no doubt that this must be AI Nancy's work. And AI Nancy considered that if magic was used to hide the truth in this monitoring screen, then Wanda would definitely be able to find out. Therefore, Nancy had used purely computer technology. This was the most important part. Wanda had a wealth of knowledge in magic and alchemy. But he knew nothing about computers, at least he didn't know anything about computers that exceeded the level of ordinary people. Wanda almost smashed the entire monitoring room. He had actually been toyed with by an apprentice over and over again. This was not a pleasant memory. Success! AI Nancy shouted in surprise, although their plan had gone awry halfway. In particular, Scythe's death made them think that the plan had failed. But they didn't expect that the final twist would actually allow them to break 4 seals without any danger. The black soul floating around AI Nancy let out a strange laugh. Chi-chi, success, it actually succeeded. The black soul seemed very excited. God's body. I'm about to have God's body. Just then, another companion said, "Don't you think it's strange? Our seemingly perfect plan was actually riddled with holes. But such a flawed plan actually succeeded in the end. Don't you have any doubts? What you want to say is that there is another group of people with the same purpose as us." The black soul also calmed down. Isn't it obvious? Not only did the other party have the same purpose as us, but they also used our plan and made up for it in our plan. Whatever, let's go get God's body first, the black soul said impatiently. From his point of view, as long as they managed to get their hands on God's body, they would be the final winner regardless of the other party's motives. However, at that moment someone else said, "Only the few of us know about this plan, but the other group also knows about this plan. This means that one of us has betrayed the team." As soon as he said this, everyone couldn't help but stop and glance at each of their companions. It seemed that everyone was a suspect, and everyone had a reason to betray him. "AI Nancy, you are the most suspicious," a companion said as he pointed at AI Nancy. "What right do you have to say that about me?" Anand glared at her companion. "You've always been a traitor, so it's not surprising that you betrayed us again, is it?" Just then, another person said, "Russell, you're so eager to bite on Nancy. Could it be that you're the traitor? Dalav, do you think you're innocent? You've been secretly leaving marks along the way. Who are you leaving these marks for?" At this time, another person was bitten out. AI Nancy was shocked to find that everyone seemed to have their own ulterior motives. Everyone had a reason to betray and be suspicious. On the contrary, she, the traitor, was the cleanest. At this moment, the mutual accusations and suspicions completely broke out. AI Nancy looked at these people. She watched them go from suspicion to quarrel, and from quarrel to fight. Everyone's eyes were bloodshot, and they attacked each other mercilessly. At this moment, Einander finally realized that something was wrong. Although they were all suspects, shouldn't the most important thing at this time be to collect the spoils of war that belonged to them? They shouldn't be killing each other here. And looking at their attacks, it seemed that they had no intention of showing mercy at all. Everyone attacked each other as if they were their mortal enemies. How could this be? How could this be? What's wrong with them? AI Nancy's mind shook. They were affected by some kind of magic. But how was this possible? Every one of them was a super expert. How could someone control their minds? No. No magic could control their minds at the same time. In fact, it was impossible for anyone to be controlled by someone. Even Zhang Tianyi or the 23rd generation Blood Mary couldn't do it. Although they were top experts, they could defeat her group of people, but they couldn't control them. What was going on? They hadn't lost their minds. Suddenly, a hand was placed on AI Nancy's shoulder. AI Nancy was so scared that she retreated and turned her head. He realized that it was an unfamiliar Asian face. "Who are you? You're very special. I can't even see your fate. You should know that I can even influence those supreme spiritualists, but you can't." The Asian man had a faint smile. AI Nancy looked at the battlefield between her companions, and then at the Asian man. "You're the mastermind behind all this? It's obvious, isn't it?" The Asian man shrugged, and there was a proud smile on his face. "I just gently fiddled with it, and then everyone's fate was entangled. Their actions, decisions, and even their thoughts were all guided and controlled by me. Who are you? Don't play tricks in front of me." AI Nancy was already secretly preparing to fight back. "Who am I? My name is Li Zhongshan." Li Zhongshan. AI Nancy frowned. She didn't remember such a person in the spiritual world. "You're very special, but you're still a little immature. If you become strong enough in the future, you can come find me and become one of us." AI Nancy wasn't so gullible. After silently brewing, she suddenly threw a bottle of magic water at Li Zhongshan. However, when the magic water was less than a foot away from Li Zhongshan, it suddenly stopped and condensed into a water ball in midair. "I said, you're not strong enough and you're not smart enough. You shouldn't attack an existence stronger than you. Do you think you can make me retreat with just a few words? Then what do I have to do to make you leave? Do you need me to cut off your limbs? Or step over your dead body?" Chapter 2287. Just as AI Nancy was hesitating whether to retreat or not, an unfamiliar voice came from behind. "Li Zhongshan, stop playing around." AI Nancy suddenly turned around and looked behind her. It was a woman with short red hair, heavy makeup, and a low-cut top. The woman also had an Asian face. The woman just glanced at Nancy casually. AI Nancy felt like she was being stared at by a dangerous creature. All the hairs on her body stood up. Danger! This woman was extremely dangerous. "All right, Red Lotus, stop scaring the kids. Let's go." Li Zhongshan laughed and tried to smooth things over. The woman called Red Lotus looked at AI Nancy again before following Li Zhongshan's footsteps. AI Nancy's expression flickered. She looked at the departing Li Zhongshan and Red Lotus, then at her companions. They didn't seem to know two uninvited guests had just arrived. They were still fighting each other, as if they viewed everyone else as irreconcilable enemies. After Li Zhongshan and Red Lotus left, Li Zhongshan's expression suddenly darkened. "Did Zhua Yiqing fail? I don't know the specifics, but he seems to have failed." Red Lotus said, "What do we do now? That Zhang Tianyi wasn't thrown into the game as a chess piece. If he tries to interfere, we won't be his match even if we work together. There's nothing we can do. Let's go meet up with the boss first and see what he plans." Red Lotus said. The two quickly met up with their companions. The boss they spoke of was currently sitting on a rock, one hand on his temple as if he was in a deep sleep. To his left was a man in a black robe. His expression was extremely ugly and somewhat annoyed. To his right was a woman holding a makeup box, dressing herself in front of the mirror. She didn't seem to care about the tense atmosphere in front of her. "Boss." Li Zhongshan walked up and greeted him. The boss narrowed his eyes and looked at the returning Li Zhongshan and Red Lotus. "Yes, you're back. What's the situation now?" Li Zhongshan asked. "Let Zhua Yiqing speak." The boss said indifferently. "According to the original plan, we planned to send Zhang Tianyi into the Scarlet Battlefield and make him a chess piece before releasing the Red Demon. But for some reason, the teleportation device was triggered, and Zhang Tianyi wasn't sent in. Could it be that someone else inadvertently met the conditions you set? So someone else replaced Zhang Tianyi and was transported inside?" Li Zhongshan asked. "Impossible. Although I have set up a lot of teleportation devices in the Wasteland market, that device is specially reserved for Zhang Tianyi. Moreover, that device also has a specific condition. Other than Zhang Tianyi, no one else can trigger it. Could it be that Zhang Tianyi triggered it? And then he cracked it? I believe he can break it, but that teleportation happened in an instant. He doesn't have time to break it. You've explained so much, but you still failed in the end, the woman said disdainfully. All right, now is not the time to blame anyone. Scheming against Zhang Tianyi is already very risky. Zhuo Yiqing's failure isn't unexpected. The boss interrupted the woman. We can only take it one step at a time. If we really have to face Zhang Tianyi, then we need to prepare in advance. Don't act rashly when the time comes. Don't look for me if it's convenient to fight. I can't help. Li Zhongshan said indifferently. He wasn't completely powerless, but he really didn't want to fight Zhang Tianyi. With his combat ability, fighting Zhang Tianyi was no different from suicide. It's best not to fight if we can. The boss said in a low voice. That old guy is really too strong. Even if we work together and prepare in advance, it's still hard to guarantee that we can escape unscathed. The boss looked at Li Zhongshan. Old Li, do you have a way to make Zhang Tianyi change his mind? How is that possible? I'm not an immortal. That old man's cultivation is so much higher than mine. Previously, he was just scheming against me. I slightly twisted his mind. It's impossible for me to do it a second time. That's right. Boss, since this mistake was caused by me, I have the responsibility to take responsibility. I'll deal with Zhang Tianyi. Zhuo Yiqing solemnly said. You? Are you sure you can stop him? Half an hour. I can stop him for half an hour at most. Oh, Zhuo Yiqing, when did you learn to talk big? You actually said you can stop Zhang Tianyi for half an hour? Even if all of us work together, we can't guarantee that we can stop him for half an hour. You're just talking big. The woman began to attack Zhuo Yiqing with sharp words. Everyone was already used to the woman's words and actions. The boss ignored the woman's harsh words and seriously looked at Zhuo Yiqing. Can you really guarantee that you can stop Zhang Tianyi for half an hour? I can. Good, half an hour. As long as you complete the mission, I'll let bygones be bygones. The boss stood up. Then let's move out and welcome the Red Demon. Bai Shui, are you ready? The woman put away her makeup box, a rare solemn expression on her face. Zhuo Yiqing, send us over there. Zhuo Yiqing nodded and casually threw out a die. It rolled until it was a 4. In an instant, the die shot out a beam of light that enveloped the boss, Li Zhongshan, Red Lotus, and Bai Shui. Then, the 4 disappeared from Zhuo Yiqing's sight. Zhuo Yiqing's expression of anger and regret disappeared, replaced with a meaningful smile. The next moment, the 4 appeared in the sky above the scarlet battlefield. What a dense scarlet aura. It looks like he's really about to come out. What a powerful aura. Even if he hasn't completely broken free of the seal, just this aura alone is enough to catch up to Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi's cultivation is unfathomable, but his methods aren't as simple as that. Ever since he became famous, no one has been able to probe his limits. There's no lack of people from our branches among them. Is that old man really that powerful? He's stronger than you think. The outside world isn't just bragging when they say that he's the strongest human in the spirit world. Oh, there's a battle over there. Let's go take a look, Li Zhongshan said. The 4 arrived above the battlefield and looked down at the battle below. What a powerful physique. Who's that man? When did someone like him appear in the Eastern spirit world? Although his physique is outstanding, why is his aura so weak? Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 2288. Chun Zhao looked at the 4 figures passing by in the air. Chun Zhao's senses were restricted, but his vision was not. So, when they got close, Chun Zhao had already noticed them. The boss, Li Zhongshan, Red Lotus, and the dresser looked down at Chun Zhao. Then they looked at Angie, Bo Untu, Fi, and Orlando behind him. That woman is a pitiful person abandoned by the entire world, Li Zhongshan said with a smile. I only helped her a little. Everyone glanced at Li Zhongshan. They were already used to Li Zhongshan's bad habits. He liked to go around looking for special people. Then, after giving them a certain amount of help, he would collect high interest. For example, India couldn't cultivate her scarlet magic. Li Zhongshan had arranged for her to be transported here. She obtained what she'd been looking for so long here, the scarlet aura. India thought that she was lucky, but in reality her fate was already controlled by someone. Li Zhongshan had controlled more than 100 people like India. Of course, most people were being controlled by Li Zhongshan without realizing it. They couldn't give Li Zhongshan anything in return. But as long as one or two succeeded, Li Zhongshan would receive a lot of rewards. Just then, the ground shook violently. A huge cross-shaped gash began to spread. A figure rose from the huge crack. The body had closed eyes and a head of golden hair. It was filled with divinity. Everyone had the same thought in their minds. God. The body that rose from the crack was God. However, it was just a body now. It didn't have any soul or consciousness. Has it started? Li Zhongshan and the others looked at the body. Just then, red tentacles extended out from the crack. They were all formed by the scarlet aura. Only, the red aura was far denser than the one on Delia's body. The red tentacles wrapped around God's body. Chen Zhao raised an eyebrow. That thing wanted to take over God's body. He couldn't let it happen before him. Chen Zhao moved and charged toward God's body. But the next moment, Chen Zhao's head hit an invisible wall and he shot to the ground. This is a crucial time. Those who are not involved, please do not interfere with our plan. Boss raised his hand and said. Chen Zhao stood up awkwardly. The impact just now was not light. Almost all the power that Chen Zhao had used just now was reflected back to him. Chen Zhao looked at the 4 people in the air and then at the top of the cross-shaped crack. In other words, you are the masterminds behind this conspiracy? Was I also teleported here by you guys? After it comes out, it will be very hungry. So it needs a large amount of food to fill its stomach before it can communicate normally, Boss calmly said. And you, as food, you should act like food. Just as everyone's attention was on Chen Zhao, a beam of golden light descended from the sky without warning. Judgment sword, evil, obliterate. Matthew held the blade of the sword that was filled with the power of glory, and the tip of the sword stabbed downward. An incomparably pure and holy pair of wings appeared behind Matthew. That divine power pierced through heaven and earth. But there was another figure faster than Matthew. Red Lotus moved and blocked in front of Matthew. Matthew's momentum was from above, so he could not turn at all. The sword was also indomitable. In an instant, the golden judgment sword pierced through Red Lotus' chest. But Red Lotus did not seem to be heavily injured. The judgment sword that pierced through her chest and back did not bring out blood, but strange flames. Matthew realized that something was wrong. He wanted to pull back his sword and retreat. But Red Lotus grabbed Matthew's arms, and Matthew felt a burning pain in his arms. The strange flames were spreading from Red Lotus palms to Matthew's arms. Since you're here, don't run. Matthew was shocked. The burning pain was unbearable. Matthew suddenly raised his sword and slashed upward. The judgment sword sliced from Red Lotus' chest to her head, almost cutting her upper body in half. But Red Lotus was still unharmed. Her upper body had actually split into 2 bodies and 2 heads. Do it! Chen Zhao shouted. Angie, Bo Untu, Fi, and Otto behind him moved at the same time. Boss glanced at Chen Zhao's group. I've been waiting for you. Boss slapped at them through the air. Boss's palm turned into a giant Buddha palm and smashed down at them. Chen Zhao suddenly sped up and disappeared in the air. Boss was slightly surprised. Chen Zhao's speed was beyond his expectations. In the blink of an eye, Chen Zhao had appeared behind Matthew and Red Lotus. Chen Zhao's fist pierced through Red Lotus' back. One of Red Lotus' heads turned 180 degrees. Idiot! As soon as Red Lotus finished speaking, she suddenly felt uncomfortable. Chen Zhao's fist that was embedded in Red Lotus' back was crazily devouring her flesh and energy with the mouth of gluttony. You, save me! Red Lotus was shocked and cried out in alarm. So stupid! The dressing woman suddenly put away her mirror and kicked horizontally. Bang! Chen Zhao was sent flying. The red lotus fire on Red Lotus suddenly surged. All of you, die! Red Lotus was furious. Seeing the Red Lotus fire approaching, Matthew immediately used holy light to protect his body. But the Red Lotus fire was far more powerful than he'd expected. The moment the Red Lotus fire touched his holy light, Matthew's holy light disintegrated. The Red Lotus fire spread to Matthew's body. Oh! Matthew let out a miserable scream as he fell to the ground, rolling around and wailing in pain. Chen Zhao saw Matthew's pitiful state from a distance. The dark lava immediately spread over and covered Matthew's body. Chen Zhao could feel the dark lava evaporating and dissipating. But he couldn't care so much right now. If he didn't, Matthew would definitely be burned to ashes by the Red Lotus fire. Thankfully, Chen Zhao saved him in time. The Red Lotus fire on Matthew was completely devoured. Matthew was sent to Chen Zhao by the dark lava. Right now, Matthew's original elegance and demeanor were long gone. Large areas of his body were burned. "You're so pitiful," Chen Zhao couldn't help but say sarcastically. "But I feel much better about you now." Matthew looked at Chen Zhao weakly. "At least, I'm not dead, right? Thank you. Why do you feel much better about me now? You're more handsome than me now. You're not dead yet, but you'll die soon." The furious Red Lotus appeared above Chen Zhao and Matthew. Chapter 2289. Chen Zhao suddenly lifted his right arm. A ball of equally furious and terrifying Red Lotus fire burst out. "Ah!" Red Lotus let out a miserable cry and directly fell from the sky. Chen Zhao stared at Lotus in shock. He didn't expect this move to be so effective. Lotus's body had been burning with Red Lotus fire. Chen Zhao thought that she was immune to it. He didn't expect that he could absorb her Red Lotus fire through the mouth of gluttony and reflect it back. It had such an unexpected effect. "See, I didn't expect to get revenge for you so soon." Matthew smiled bitterly at Chen Zhao. He also didn't expect Chen Zhao to defeat Lotus so easily. "But you don't have time to relax yet." Matthew lay on the ground and looked at the two enemies coming from above Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao looked up at the boss and the dressed-up woman. The boss looked at Lotus on the ground with a terrible expression. When he looked at Chen Zhao, anger shot out of his eyes. "Looks like I underestimated you." The dressed-up woman's aura grew stronger. She was clearly ready for battle. "I haven't seen Lotus this miserable in a long time." Just then, Li Zhongshan said from the distance, "Boss, this guy's life is too tough. I can't touch him. Don't be careless." "Good. Very good." Light shot out of the boss's eyes. "Yellow Ghost, freeze." At that moment, Chen Zhao felt like his body was filled with lead. Every movement he made was extremely heavy. At the same time, the dressed-up woman's skin turned dark gold. Chen Zhao raised an eyebrow. This was very similar to his own moves. He could fuse elements into his body. Just as Chen Zhao was shocked, the dressed-up woman's attack came. Fast. It was indescribably fast. Everyone's eyes could only catch a glimpse of a golden light flashing past. The next moment, there was an explosion from Chen Zhao's chest and he was sent flying. The golden light sped up again, following Chen Zhao's path of flight with thousands of attacks. Boom, boom, boom. The continuous attacks blasted Chen Zhao into the crack in the ground. In the end, the woman kicked heavily and Chen Zhao was smashed into the lava in the crack. Phew! Only then did the dressed-up woman stop, and a cloud of steam-like smoke came out from her back. The gold on her body receded, and the woman took out the vanity mirror again, as if she had just done something inconspicuous. The makeup has all fallen off. The woman began to touch up her makeup as if there was no one else around. Matthew was very sad to see Chen Zhao fall into the lava. At this moment, the red tentacles not far away had completely wrapped around God's body. Following that, the red tentacles began to disintegrate into scarlet gas before drilling into the god's body. Ahoo, ahoo! The god's body began to breathe heavily. The next moment, the god's body suddenly opened its eyes. It was a pair of scarlet pupils. However, his entire body rippled with an imposing aura. A golden wheel of light formed behind the head of the god's body. The body raised its palm and observed it carefully. Is this the body of a god? What a terrifying monster. The red devil had completely taken over this body. He was also called a monster by the world. But in the mouth of this monster, God was also a monstrous existence. Even though God had already died and only left behind a body, still made him gasp in amazement. Greetings, Your Excellency Edelu. Boss slowly landed in front of the red demon and called him by his real name. The red devil was judged by the church to be a demon who would bring disaster to the world. However, few people knew his identity. He wasn't a pure demon. He had once been a member of the church and a high-level one at that. He had lost a power struggle related to the church's pope. This caused him to switch to the evil camp. He opened the church's dungeon and released all the evil creatures and demons that had been imprisoned. Every evil creature he released had to hand over a drop of essence blood and be enslaved by him. Through absorbing the essence blood, he transformed himself into an indescribable monster. He also triggered the church's first crusade. The red devil glanced at Boss. I've long given up on my human name. Then do you need me to call you the red devil? You can also be the scarlet god, the red devil said matter-of-factly. The red devil said matter-of-factly, I like working with you Easterners. Even if it's a vow from 1,000 years ago, you still abide by it and carry it out to the end. Boss had a faint smile on his face. Now, it's time for you to fulfill your vow, Scarlet God. I'm hungry, the red devil said. I've prepared a sumptuous banquet for you, Boss said calmly. The red devil looked at Matthew and couldn't help but smile. He licked his lips. Then he looked at Angie, Bountu, Fee, and Alterando. The quality is excellent, but the quantity is a little low. The red devil's hatred towards the church was obvious. You can take a look at the entire battlefield. The red devil abruptly released his perception. In an instant, the entire scarlet battlefield fell into his range of senses. However, the red devil's gaze fell on the crack. What's inside? It was unclear if the red devil was talking to himself or asking Boss. It's just a roasted corpse, Boss said calmly. Suddenly, magma surged out of the crack without any warning. It shot hundreds of meters into the sky. Everyone was startled by this sudden scene. A figure walked out of the erupting magma. Huh? He's not dead? Boss and the dresser were both shocked. Matthew and the others were naturally overjoyed. They also didn't expect Chun Zhao to still be alive. They didn't understand why Chun Zhao wasn't dead. But this wasn't important anymore. As long as he wasn't dead, it was more important than anything else. The dresser put away her vanity mirror again. When she looked at Chun Zhao, her eyes were filled with anger. So what if he's not dead? If I can defeat you once, I can defeat you again. With that, the dresser used the same trick again. Her body was covered in a layer of dark gold. It was that unparalleled speed again. Crack! But when the dresser appeared again, she realized that Chun Zhao had already lifted her upside down. One of her legs was firmly held by Chun Zhao. It was clearly twisted. Ah! The dresser didn't understand. Everyone didn't understand what had happened. But this result really happened. Caught you. The red devil was a little angry. Kill him. Of course. It's our duty. The boss nodded and turned to look at Chun Zhao. Can you stop struggling? Let us end this farce happily. Matthew walked over to Chun Zhao with difficulty. There were still large areas of burns on his body. However, he still came to Chun Zhao's side, planning to use his last bit of power to fight alongside Chun Zhao. Matthew, don't come over and be my burden. Go and be a quiet spectator. Matthew smiled bitterly. I still have the strength to fight. He didn't think that Chun Zhao could win alone. Even Zhang Tianyi probably wouldn't have a chance of winning in this situation. A demon that had taken over a god's body, and this demon couldn't be killed. This kind of combination was already a hopeless combination. There was also a group of mysterious but extremely powerful spiritualists. He couldn't think of any way that Chun Zhao could win. Chun Zhao also revealed a serious expression. Okay, if I really lie down, you can come and take over. Just be a patient for now. Don't push it. You'll die together. Red Lotus suddenly launched an attack. A flaming nova erupted from her body. Right now, Red Lotus was stronger and angrier than ever before. The dark lava blocked the flaming nova and wrapped around Chun Zhao and Matthew. However, the flames clearly countered the dark lava. This was also something that had never happened before. The dark lava was evaporating under the heat of the Red Lotus fire. Thankfully, Chun Zhao had a large amount of dark lava. After the flaming nova dissipated, the dark lava gradually retreated too. Matthew, don't be a hindrance, okay? Matthew's face was bright red. This was the first time he'd been called a hindrance. But it was the truth. Although he wanted to help, he couldn't even block one of the enemy's moves. But he couldn't even block half a move from the enemy. Not to mention helping Chun Zhao. Suddenly, the woman also attacked. Her skin turned darker and had a metallic sheen. Her skin became darker and had a metallic luster to it. She didn't hold back at all. She didn't hold back at all. She'd already suffered at Chun Zhao's hands. She knew that if she didn't use all her power, she would lie down soon. This unconventional speed and power forced Chun Zhao to use even more power. That line. Breakthrough, however, what followed was an invisible force that descended from the void. It landed on Chun Zhao's head. Boom! But Chun Zhao was prepared this time. The ground cracked and shattered. Chun Zhao stood upright. The woman's attack had arrived too. Chun Zhao punched and the woman was sent flying. Green robe, yellow demon. Freeze! The boss roared. But this time, he realized that the freeze curse that had been so easy last time was actually very difficult. Chun Zhao paused. Once again, he realized that his limbs felt like lead. He couldn't move. Moreover, the worldly power fell again. Ha! Chun Zhao roared and his power increased again. The worldly power also increased again. Another wave of majestic power fell from the sky. Rumble. Amidst the smoke, Chun Zhao still didn't move. Boss spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was slightly pale. How is this possible? Boss, his fate has increased. This guy is too terrifying. Li Zhongshan yelled. All techniques returned to one. Chun Zhao increased his power again. Similarly, the worldly power increased again. Boom, 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 wave after wave of majestic power fell from the sky. It wasn't enough. This bit of power wasn't enough to fight against the worldly power. Then I'll strengthen it again. This time, Chun Zhao fought against the worldly power. Dark assimilation. Chun Zhao's power increased exponentially again. Wasn't it enough? I have power. His power doubled. Right now, the entire scarlet battlefield was shaking violently. Everyone on the ground couldn't stand steadily. Chapter 2291. Chun Zhao kept fighting against the power of heaven and earth. It wasn't a good feeling. However much Chun Zhao's power increased, the power of heaven and earth would increase accordingly. On the other hand, the attacks from the surrounding people were almost negligible. The huge force landed on Chun Zhao's head and then spread out from his body. The ground kept shaking violently. It wasn't just the scarlet battlefield that was shaking. Even the wasteland bazaar above the battlefield felt the tremors. The entire wasteland bazaar was shaking violently. The red demon's expression froze. He could feel the terrifying power emanating from Chun Zhao. It was power that wasn't below his. Chun Zhao also seemed to be fighting against an invisible enemy. Of course, the red demon wouldn't talk about chivalry with him. He wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity. The red demon spread his arms, and countless spheres appeared in the air around him. The spheres were like suns, shining with golden light. Go to hell! All of the golden balls released a golden ray in an instant. All the rays were aimed at Chun Zhao in the center. Instantly, Chun Zhao was surrounded by the golden rays. There was no way to avoid the countless rays. Everyone couldn't open their eyes because of the piercing golden light. The golden light only lasted for about a second. However, everyone's vision only recovered after a dozen seconds. Matthew was even more anxious. He was the first to recover his vision. After all, his holy light magic was very similar to the red demon's attack to a large extent. They were all so dazzling and resplendent in gold and jade. So, he was more or less immune to the gold. Or rather, he was more or less adapted to it. He saw Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao was still standing there, but his entire body was covered in blood. His chest and back were covered in countless bloody holes. Seeing Chen Zhao's heavy injuries, Delia was overjoyed. She charged at Chen Zhao. "Watch out!" Matthew panicked. He climbed up with difficulty, but before he could take 2 steps, he fell to the ground again. When he opened his eyes again, he saw that half of Delia's body was leaning back. Chen Zhao's chest heaved. The wounds all over his body brought him intense pain. Chen Zhao's eyes were fierce as he scanned all the enemies present. "All of you will die," Chen Zhao roared. "Arrogant! You don't even know that you're about to die." The woman suddenly launched an attack. The woman no longer held back. Her speed was so fast that even she couldn't react. Of course, as long as it was a straight line of attack, there would be no problem. But when she stopped, she looked down and saw that her right arm and shoulder were gone. She turned around and saw Chen Zhao's back facing her. He was holding her missing arm. She also discovered that Chen Zhao's arm also had a metallic glow, just like hers. The metallic luster slowly spread throughout his body. Giant spirit divinization. Chen Zhao's body started growing bigger and gold started covering his entire body. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, Chen Zhao's power increased by leaps and bounds again. The earth trembled even more violently. Those who could fly basically flew into the sky. Those who couldn't fly couldn't even stand. Matthew and the others, who were seriously injured, were in even more pain from the tremors. Li Zhongshan's expression changed. He could feel the terrifying aura from Chen Zhao. Now, he finally understood why Zhang Tianyi hadn't teleported in, but Chen Zhao had. One of the conditions for Zhua Yiqing's teleportation was to limit one's strength. If one wasn't strong enough, they couldn't activate the teleportation. But Chen Zhao had clearly reached Zhang Tianyi's level. In fact, what he was displaying now was even more terrifying. Is this Chen Zhao's aura? Where is he? Is he releasing his power with all his might? Bifla saw that the entire wasteland market was falling apart. The terrifying power from the bottom to the top was constantly wreaking havoc in this place. The mirror image of the huge buildings was collapsing, the streets were cracking, and some places even had large holes in the ground. In an environment like this, casualties were unavoidable. Judging from the scale of the disaster, the casualties would probably not be small. As a newly advanced Shangxing realm cultivator, Bifla could clearly feel how powerful this power was. His own magic power was not on the same level at all. Of course, Bifla was also clear about his own position. In his opinion, Chen Zhao was a veteran Shangxing expert. It was normal for him to have a gap between them. After the Shangxing realm, the difference between each small realm could be several times or even dozens of times. Of course, knowing was one thing, but Bifla was still shocked by this aura. What's happening? Damn. Seeing that his lab was falling apart, Wendy's face was filled with shock and anger. Zhang Tianyi strolled to the door with Kelly and Ivory. "Wendy, it looks like this place is going to be destroyed. Let's go." "Celestial Master Zhang, what's going on? Is it because the seal has been released?" "I don't know. But this shaking isn't because of the seal being released. Maybe it's related, but it's not caused by the thing in the seal." "Then who did it? Damn, if this keeps shaking, the entire wasteland market will be destroyed." Wendy and Zhang Tianyi walked out of the building with Kelly and Ivory. The building collapsed. Kelly and Ivory looked at the apocalyptic scene before them. The ground was cracking. The buildings before them were collapsing one after another. "Celestial Master, is this really man-made?" Kelly asked in fear. Zhang Tianyi nodded silently. "Yes, and you know that person." "You mean Qin?" "Yes, it seems like he's in big trouble. He actually used this much power." Zhang Tianyi looked up at the sky. Something seemed to be brewing in the dusky sky. Suddenly, an incomparably huge crack appeared in the ground. Kelly stepped on nothing and suddenly felt weightless. The next moment, Kelly let out a shrill scream, and her whole body fell down. Zhang Tianyi caught Kelly. "Be careful. You're dead if you fall from here." Suddenly, a ring exploded in the sky. Then, a pillar of light descended from the sky. Rather than a pillar of light, it was more like a lightning pillar. The lightning pillar was like a skyscraper that connected the sky and the earth. Zhang Tianyi's eyes widened, his face filled with shock. The beam of light was not very far away from him, and he could feel the power contained in the lightning beam. But what shocked him more was what the lightning pillar represented. It was a legendary scene, a heavenly tribulation. Chapter 2292. In the Scarlet Battlefield, when everyone saw the rock layer above their heads being torn apart, everyone thought that it was a way out, but a terrifying pillar of light descended from the sky. It hit Chen Zhao's body directly. The terrifying impact forced everyone to retreat in an instant. Ah! What Chen Zhao felt was thousands of times worse than the others. Chen Zhao felt the entire world pressing down on him. Even Chen Zhao's 10,000 techniques returned to one. Even Chen Zhao's dark assimilation, even his eye of power and mighty spirit form couldn't resist the immense pressure. The lightning contained in the pillar of light was ineffective against Chen Zhao. But what truly made Chen Zhao feel pain was the seemingly solid pressure. He couldn't stop it. He really couldn't. Even though Chen Zhao possessed billions of tons of power, it seemed so insignificant before the might of the world. Li Zhongshan looked at the pillar of light that pierced through the sky. "Boss, we don't need to do anything. That guy's about to die. His fate is continuously weakening," Li Zhongshan said. The boss heaved a long sigh of relief. He had to admit that Chen Zhao gave him a lot of pressure. Even if the four of them worked together, they might not be able to defeat that guy. But Chen Zhao's thoughts were extremely clear. Unprecedentedly clear. Chen Zhao's heart skipped a beat. This power definitely couldn't be blocked. Even Zhang Tianyi would be crushed by this power. Then he'd make this power his. Chen Zhao suddenly deactivated Mighty Spirit form. Instead, he used the same method to forcefully absorb this power. The basic principle of Mighty Spirit form was to absorb the spiritual qi in the world. The effects of Mighty Spirit form would increase according to how much spiritual qi one's body could withstand. Chen Zhao's current method was only a temporary solution. Right now, he had no choice but to be crushed by the power of the heavens and earth. He could either be crushed by the power of the world, or forcefully steal this power and make it his own. Of course, this was also very risky. This was a power that Chen Zhao had never come into contact with before. He didn't know the characteristics of this power at all. It was like a person running into a factory and stuffing raw materials into their mouth. Whether the raw material was edible or poisonous, no one could be sure. Of course, the cultivation system in the spiritual world was more complicated. If an external energy enters the body, can it create this energy? For example, Chen Zhao had to expel his current energy from his body in order for the worldly power to enter his body. However, after the power of heaven and earth entered his body, would his body be able to produce energy of the same quality? If he couldn't create energy of the same quality, no matter how much he absorbed or how much energy he had, he would run out one day. If his body could produce the same amount of energy, he would be able to solve his worries. However, this wasn't a difficult choice for Chen Zhao. It was a good choice between survival and death. Chen Zhao absorbed the energy into his body. Instantly, Chen Zhao felt a sharp pain. This energy was simply too violent. It was as if it wanted to destroy everything. All the cells seemed to be destroyed by this force. But Chen Zhao's huge life force also started running wildly and being consumed. Chen Zhao's life force was pouring out wildly. Once Chen Zhao's life force was used up, what awaited him was death. Suddenly, the evolution system in his body changed again. Chen Zhao saw it. He saw it in his body. He could see that every cell in his body was changing. The energy that entered his body was being cut into countless individuals. Then, the cells in his body started absorbing the energy in a regular pattern. Gradually, Chen Zhao realized that the pain disappeared. It was replaced by an empty stomach. Hunger. Chun Zhao realized that he actually developed an appetite for the power of heaven and earth that landed on his body. Chun Zhao started devouring the power of heaven and earth like crazy. The cells in his body continued to evolve and adapt to the power of heaven and earth. Suddenly, Li Zhongshan's expression changed. What's wrong? What happened? He didn't die. His fate is strengthening. Didn't die? How is that possible? How could he survive that kind of impact? The pillar of light was weakening. It was clearly weakening. But in the pillar of light, another figure was appearing. Chun Zhao felt something completely different from the Jin state. While Chun Zhao was still immersed in his different Jin forms, a voice suddenly rang out. Countless golden lights shot toward Chun Zhao again. Chun Zhao's heart jumped. His body suddenly turned pure white. In an instant, countless rays of golden light pierced through his body. Energy transformation. Chun Zhao realized that he could actually turn into energy. Seeing Chun Zhao's energy form, the red demon couldn't help but frown. Chun Zhao gave him a very bad feeling. Very, very bad. Chun Zhao also stopped studying his new form and turned to look at the red demon. In an instant, Chun Zhao turned into a beam of light and reformed his real body in front of the red demon. Chun Zhao ignored the red demon. Instead, he looked back at where he had been just now. Just now, he was about 1,000 meters away from where he was now, but he actually moved so far away in an instant. This made Chun Zhao very curious about his speed just now. It definitely wasn't the speed of light, but it was definitely faster than his original speed. Chun Zhao's fastest speed could reach Mach 40. He could jump more than 10 kilometers in a second. This was pretty much the fastest flying speed of current technology. But in that instant, Chun Zhao felt that his speed after turning into energy had clearly increased. But this was understandable. After all, after the body turned into energy, its mass would definitely be infinitely close to zero. The smaller the mass, the faster the body would move after being affected by force. You still dare to be distracted when facing me? The red demon suddenly grabbed at Chun Zhao. Not only had Chun Zhao's speed increased, but his reaction speed had also reached a terrifying level. The moment the red demon attacked, Chun Zhao also attacked. The moment the red demon grabbed Chun Zhao, he immediately turned into energy. The red demon's attack missed, but Chun Zhao's attack came as expected. Chun Zhao's palm slapped the red demon's face. Then, the moment the red demon was sent flying, his face looked like it had been burned. The red demon stood up again. Chun Zhao's attack hadn't caused any actual damage to him. The burn on his face quickly disappeared too. Plus, this body wasn't his to begin with, so he didn't feel any pain. But the red demon felt a strong threat. Chapter 2293. Matthew and the others were dumbfounded. Although he, Angie, and the others were all in a sorry state. But now, there seemed to be a chance to turn the tables. Chun Zhao rubbed his palm. He turned to look at Matthew, who was not far away. We've hit the bottom. I've hit the bottom. Matthew smiled bitterly. What's your situation now? Looks like I've broken through. Chun Zhao felt the information from every cell. Every cell carried a huge amount of energy. From a biological perspective, Chun Zhao had already transformed from a human to a non-human. As long as Chun Zhao's yin-yang inner core released immortal power, the cells would immediately absorb it and turn it into a physical form. As long as Chun Zhao put away his immortal power, his cells would immediately turn into energy. This was also why Chun Zhao switched between his energy form and his physical form. Now that Chun Zhao was no longer restrained, he felt both physically and mentally relaxed. A beam of white light shot out of Chun Zhao's eyes and shot toward the red demon. Rumble! A huge explosion occurred on the red demon's body. Chun, are you trying to become a Superman? However, Superman has a red ray. Why don't you learn a death ray? Matthew teased. Chun Zhao rubbed his forehead. The white light that shot out of his eyes wasn't his own attack. It was purely an accident. However, he had to admit that he was quite satisfied with the attack just now. It was powerful and cool enough. After the cigarette was extinguished, the red devil's chest caved in, and there was a trail of blood at the corner of his mouth. Although he was now in the body of a god, he did not have the glory of a god. There were only ferocious gazes and terrifying thoughts that made one's hair stand up. I admit that you are powerful. The red devil grinned. Chun Zhao didn't pay attention to the red demon. Instead, he looked at his palm. Her originally white palm was first covered in a layer of black, then a layer of gold. Chun Zhao tried to use dark assimilation and Jin divinization on the basis of the energy form. The effect seemed pretty good. Chun Zhao had been worried whether this new energy could coexist with dark assimilation and Jin divinization. Now, it seemed that his worries were unnecessary. However, it was different from dark assimilation and Jin divinization. This form of energy was permanent. It was different from dark assimilation and Jin divinization. As long as he wanted to, he could maintain his energy form forever. Chun Zhao could switch between physical and energy forms at will. In his energy form, Chun Zhao could also use dark assimilation and Jin form. There was no conflict between the three. He also made a new discovery. Originally, Chun Zhao had thought that after covering his energy form with dark assimilation and Jin state, he would be able to use his strongest power without being attacked by the enemy. This was the most ideal state. But what Chun Zhao didn't expect was that when he used dark assimilation and mighty divinity in this form, the energy would stick to his body. The red demon was annoyed because Chun Zhao had ignored him again. Red demon raised his arms high, and a terrifying red fireball gathered above his head. The huge fireball was like the sun, with a diameter of more than 3 kilometers. The entire scarlet battlefield was shrouded in the terror of that huge fireball. Even Chun Zhao was frightened by the terrifying super fireball. If this thing fell to the ground, he might not die. But everyone on the scarlet battlefield and even in the wasteland market above would die. But how was he going to block such a huge and terrifying fireball? After thinking about it, Chun Zhao still decided to try with dark lava. This was the first time Chun Zhao had no confidence at all. The energy contained in this super fireball was too great. Go to hell. The red demon suddenly pushed the super fireball. Chun Zhao could dodge it. The super fireball wasn't slow. But compared to Chun Zhao, it was like an ant crawling. But Chun Zhao couldn't dodge it. He had no choice. When the super fireball reached Chun Zhao felt even more deeply the size of the super fireball and his own insignificance. Suddenly, dark lava burst out of Chun Zhao's palms. In an instant, a huge black cloth covered the super fireball. Suddenly, dark magma burst out of Chun Zhao's palms. In an instant, the stars turned into a huge black cloth, covering the super fireball. Seeing that his attack was blocked, the red demon sneered. When the red devil saw that his attack had been blocked, he sneered. I've been waiting for this move of yours. The red demon shouted, Perish! Before Chun Zhao could catch his breath, he felt the super fireball explode inside the dark lava. The black curtain formed by the dark lava suddenly expanded, about to burst at any moment. Chun Zhao's expression changed. The terrifying energy of the super fireball was enough to destroy everything here. But now that it was compressed, the energy that exploded again would be even more terrifying. Dark assimilation. Chun Zhao had no choice. He could either let the destructive energy from the super fireball explode pour out, or he could think of a way to transfer the energy. Chun Zhao thought of this method to let himself bear the full force of this energy. The instant Chun Zhao used dark assimilation, the dark lava fused into his body. At the same time, it also brought the destructive energy into Chun Zhao's body. But to his surprise, Chun Zhao's eyes widened. The energy was huge, but it didn't make Chun Zhao feel very uncomfortable. Instead, it gave Chun Zhao a sense of satisfaction and fullness. Also, this energy was much weaker than the power of heaven and earth from before. Burp! Chun Zhao burped. Everyone was dumbfounded. They stared at Chun Zhao in shock. That's it? Was there a mistake somewhere? But just then, Chun Zhao's body changed again. Every cell in Chun Zhao's body seemed to be ignited. But this time, the cells didn't die because of the destructive power. They only ignited Chun Zhao's body. Chun Zhao was stunned. It seemed that the cells were digesting the energy. This time, Chun Zhao's body functions didn't change. He didn't evolve either. In other words, this was an acceptable state for his body. Chun Zhao started guessing. The explosive energy from the super fireball should be fire energy. After absorbing the fire energy, his body's energy form also turned into fire. If he absorbed energy of other elements, would it also turn into the corresponding energy form? Chun Zhao looked at the red demon and suddenly pounced at him. Right now, Chun Zhao was extremely fast. The red demon's reaction was also very fast, but speed wasn't his strong point. He was barely able to put up a defensive stance. Chapter 2294. Bang! There was a deep sound. Chun Zhao threw a punch. The flames on his fist weren't very effective against the red demon. After all, the energy was his to begin with. But Chun Zhao's power wasn't something he could block. Whether it was the red demon himself or the god's body he'd taken over, they weren't known for their strength. After all, Chun Zhao had killed the god of strength before, and he'd done it with pure strength. Not to mention the sun god. The red demon was sent flying. His body ignited from the friction in the air and fell like a meteor. The ground cracked and flames shot into the sky. This time, the red demon stood up with some difficulty. Chun Zhao's punch had caused great damage to the god's body. What was even more terrifying was the energy on his fist. It wasn't the flames on his fist, but the energy hidden under the flames. That energy had caused a certain amount of damage to his soul. If the god's body hadn't blocked most of the damage for him, this punch would probably have destroyed his soul. The red devil turned pale with fright. He'd never seen such a monster-like human before. In the era when he'd been sealed, if there had been someone who could fight him or kill him, they wouldn't have spent so much effort to seal him. In order to seal him, they'd even used the body of a noble god to suppress him. He'd even boldly plotted against this god's body. It was because he was confident that no one could kill him. Even being sealed in the end was part of his plan. However, after being sealed for 1,000 years, he'd successfully taken over the god's body. He didn't expect to encounter such a terrifying enemy right after coming out of the seal. The god's body had already been severely damaged, but the red demon still used the scarlet chi to repair the damaged body. After all, the red demon wasn't a god. His power wasn't enough to repair the god's body. Therefore, the parts that were repaired with the scarlet chi were clearly distorted and mutated. Chun Zhao could clearly feel that the flame energy had decreased greatly after that blow. It was different from the other energies in Chun Zhao's body. Chun Zhao's yin and yang chi could be obtained by absorbing cosmic rays from the sky every day and then converted for cultivation. Immortal chi was Chun Zhao's most basic source of power. It was obtained from the yin and yang inner elixir in his body. There was also the energy that was converted from absorbing the world energy. After absorbing the energy, Chun Zhao's body evolved. Not only could the cells store this energy, but they could also generate this energy on their own. However, fire energy was different. Fire energy was completely external. The fire energy was more like stale food. After eating it, Chun Zhao had this special energy temporarily. But it wasn't absolute possession and acquisition. On the outskirts of the battlefield, boss Li Zhongshan, as well as the heavily injured Red Lotus and the dresser woman, could all see the situation in the middle of the battlefield. They didn't expect that a nobody would be able to defeat him. Their partner, an ancient devil, couldn't even fight back. The Red Devil was definitely not an ordinary creature. He was an existence that brought terror and turmoil to medieval Europe. Obtaining the title of devil as a human, the Red Devil was definitely the first. The Red Devil that had ravaged the European continent for more than 100 years. But now he was beaten up by a stranger. This made them somewhat unable to accept this result. Their cooperation with the Red Devil was the hard work of several generations over the centuries. It wasn't for this result. "Boss, let's go," Li Zhongshan said in an extremely calm tone. "It's not worth sacrificing all of us for the Red Devil." Of course, Boss knew this. As long as they were alive, there was still a chance. But he just couldn't accept it. All the arrangements, the hard work of several generations over the centuries. But because of such an unexpected factor, an outsider, everything had gone to waste. All their blood, sweat, and tears had gone down the drain. How could he accept it? "Boss, let's go while that guy's attention isn't on us," Li Zhongshan said. Right now, Chun Zhao's attention wasn't just on them. Most of his attention wasn't even on the Red Devil. He was still studying the changes in his body. Inside and outside the battlefield, there was a strange silence. Everyone stared at Chun Zhao. They were waiting for his next move. Chun Zhao had an idea. He condensed the energy in his palm. As expected, the energy gathered into an energy ball. Chun Zhao looked at the energy ball in his hand and then looked for the Red Devil. He tossed it casually. The Red Devil had suffered once, so he was already prepared for Chun Zhao's next move. A golden energy barrier blocked the Red Devil's path. But the moment the energy ball touched the barrier, it didn't stop. Pierced through the barrier. The barrier didn't collapse. The energy ball only left a round hole in it. The Red Devil didn't expect the energy ball to be so terrifying. It actually pierced through the golden barrier. Boom! There was another terrifying explosion and a terrifying shockwave. Chun Zhao looked at the location of the explosion, confusion on his face. The power of that energy ball was indeed very strong. But Chun Zhao paid more attention to its characteristics. It seemed to have a strong penetrative ability against energy, and it could instantly explode against physical objects. As for power, it was shocking in other people's eyes. But to Chun Zhao, it was only average. But in terms of consumption, it was also negligible. After a simple test, Chun Zhao roughly estimated his changes. In terms of power, Chun Zhao didn't increase much. But the increase in speed was Chun Zhao's biggest gain. Chun Zhao didn't have the exact data, but it was at least 3 times or more faster. Also, his body could turn into energy, which allowed him to nullify many attacks, especially physical attacks. This was especially true for physical attacks. In the past, Chun Zhao had mostly relied on his strong body to deal with physical attacks. But now, he was immune to physical attacks. At the same time, Chun Zhao developed some energy attacks. But for now, these energy attacks didn't have an obvious increase in pure destructive power. Huh? You want to run? Chun Zhao realized that the Red Devil was planning to use the smoke from the explosion to escape. Chun Zhao immediately blocked the Red Devil's path. You can't go there. The Red Devil grabbed at Chun Zhao. The moment he grabbed Chun Zhao's arms, a scarlet aura surged toward him. Chapter 2295. The Red Demon could already feel it. There was a clear difference between him and Chun Zhao. Even with this god's body, he couldn't beat Chun Zhao. If he continued fighting, he would only die in an ugly way. But he knew that it was almost impossible for him to escape from Chun Zhao. At their level, their perception had already reached a terrifying level. Their auras were as eye-catching as light bulbs. It was even more impossible for him to escape from Chun Zhao. That was why the Red Demon had come up with such a risky move. That was to take over Chun Zhao's body. And if this plan succeeds, he could completely abandon this god's body. Chun Zhao's body was stronger than a god's body. Of course, as long as he obtained Chun Zhao's body, this god's body would be useless. But Chun Zhao was also waiting for this opportunity. Chun Zhao also grabbed the Red Demon. Looks like we have the same goal. Chun Zhao looked at the Red Demon. The Red Demon was shocked. He vaguely felt a trace of unease. But he didn't have time to think of a way out. He could only continue trying to use the red aura to invade Chun Zhao's body. But just then, dark lava spread out from Chun Zhao's palms that grabbed the Red Demon's shoulders. The dark lava started spreading above the Red Demon's neck, then his mouth, nose, and ears. The Red Demon was shocked to find that his red aura was useless against Chun Zhao. Meanwhile, Chun Zhao's dark lava was eating away at the god's body. Even his own scarlet energy was being nibbled away. Looks like we have the same bloodline, but your red aura can't compare to my dark lava. Chun Zhao grinned. Same bloodline? The Red Demon was shocked. He knew himself very well. In the beginning, he didn't have any demon bloodline. He was purely human. He just absorbed and fused with large amounts of demon blood. As for how many types of demon blood he had absorbed, he didn't know either. Also, He didn't know what kind of special demon bloodline there was. As for the final transformation and the process of turning into a red demon, he didn't know either. What he used was also ancient magic, combined with some of his own insights. Now, after being exposed by Chun Zhao, he finally understood his bloodline. Actually, Chun Zhao knew the effects of the demonic bloodline and the transformation process much better than the red demon. After all, Chun Zhao had personally guided the demonization of a few normal creatures. He had also done related research and experiments, although he did not know the specific situation of the red devil. But judging from the chaotic bloodline aura in his aura, it was clear that he had a very good chance of survival. He had obviously fused with the bloodline of other demons. Therefore, he could roughly analyze the formation process of the red devil. It was very likely that he had the bloodline of a king of wrath and then fused it with the bloodline of other demons. However, this fusion process was not pure, and there were too many impurities from other bloodlines. This caused his power to become very chaotic. Actually, Chun Zhao had used the same or similar method before. Chun Zhao had used dark lava to devour and fuse with other mutants and demons. Nevertheless, Chun Zhao's bloodline was given by Samuel himself. In terms of bloodline, Chun Zhao's was more advanced than the red demons. It wasn't that the higher the grade of something, the better it was. However, when it came to bloodlines, the higher the grade, the better. The red demon was terrified. After trying to no avail, he realized that the red gas had no effect on Chun Zhao at all. He wanted to escape, but his body was firmly held in Chun Zhao's hands. He could not escape either. In the end, the red demon could only choose to leave the god's body. Large amounts of red gas spread out from the god's body and spread out wildly. The red demon tried to escape using this method. Don't even think about going anywhere. Seeing that the god's body had lost its resistance, Chun Zhao put it away. The dark lava enveloped the red gas. It was different from the red gas he had devoured from Delia. The red fiend's true form was countless times thicker than the scarlet aura surrounding Delia. This was the real nourishment pill. A terrified face appeared in the scarlet gas. He wanted to escape frantically, even splitting into a few parts as bait. But Chun Zhao did not care about all these tricks. He let the dark lava envelop him, forming an absolutely sealed space. "If you don't give me a way out, then we'll die together," the red demon roared. "If you can do it, then come." Soon, Chun Zhao realized what the red demon wanted to do. Self-destruct? That's meaningless to me. I want to devour your origin. It doesn't matter even if you self-destruct. The red demon heard Chun Zhao's words. Even if he knew that it was meaningless, he had nowhere to go. But he had no way out. The red gas was like a flammable gas. It ignited in this sealed and dark space. However, the red demon's self-destruction was not that kind of explosion. Instead, it instantly contracted all the red gas and turned it into a sphere. Then the sphere radiated billions of rays of light that spread in all directions. The sealed space enveloped by the dark lava was instantly penetrated from the inside, like a leaking bag. Chun Zhao pursed his lips, feeling that he had suffered a loss. The red demon's self-destruction did not hurt him. However, at least a quarter of the dark lava had been evaporated by the explosion. The red gas that Chun Zhao had devoured from the red demon could not make up for the loss at all. Chun Zhao sighed and looked up at the sky. Two pairs of eyes looked down from above as well. The two gazes were Bifla and Zhang Tianyi. Chun Zhao landed on the ground and looked at Matthew. Then he pulled Angie, Paolo, Fee, and Otranto to Matthew's side. "Looks like there's nothing here. I'm leaving." "You're not bringing us up," Matthew complained, looking at Chun Zhao. "Someone's coming down to pick you up. I don't have to take responsibility." "You're too irresponsible. I'm not your father." Chun Zhao rolled his eyes. "After this trial, let's drink together," Matthew said. "You should recover from your injuries first. I'm afraid you're going to be disfigured soon. There are many healing spells in our church. This kind of injury is nothing. Looks like my pity for you is unnecessary. I'm leaving. Goodbye." When Chun Zhao flew into the sky, he saw John Sr. fall from the crack. The two of them looked at each other and nodded as a greeting. Chapter 2296. As soon as Chun Zhao exited the crack, he saw a scene of devastation. The entire wasteland market had been destroyed. During the violent tremors and the battle between Chun Zhao and the Red Demon, the entire wasteland market had been reduced to ruins. Looking around, there wasn't a single intact building. Just then, two figures approached Chun Zhao from different directions. One was Bifla and the other was Zhang Tianyi. Chun Zhao. Zhang Tianyi arrived before Chun Zhao first. Bifla followed closely behind. When they arrived before Chun Zhao, they both stared at him. At the same time, they used their senses to check Chun Zhao's body condition. "You're completely different now," Zhang Tianyi exclaimed. Zhang Tianyi exclaimed, "Your body has almost been reforged. It's as if you've been reborn in the legends." Bifla didn't understand as well as Zhang Tianyi, but he was also very interested in Chun Zhao. After all, Chun Zhao's current path was also the path he might walk in the future. "I've changed a lot now? Normal people can't tell, but I can," Zhang Tianyi said. "I've never thought that someone could walk before me, but it seems like you're half a step ahead of me. What realm am I in now?" "Still in Shangqing," Zhang Tianyi said. "I thought I'd surpassed Shangqing." In ancient records, Shangqing is divided into spiritual movement, embryonic breathing, sitting death, and spiritual silence. You're in the last step of Shangqing, spiritual silence. "What about after me?" "No," Zhang Tianyi said. "Since ancient times, only a few people have reached Shangqing. For example, in our era, it's already a sign of prosperity for the spiritual world to have a few Shangqing cultivators in the same generation. As for your current cultivation, it's not an exaggeration to say that you're the first in history. No one has reached the later stages, so there's naturally no realm. If you want to improve, you'll have to figure it out yourself." "Oh, can I be called the first person in history now? So I'm invincible now?" "Among humans, you should be invincible," Zhang Tianyi said. "It's a pity that I don't have thousands of people worshipping me. If you want, I can arrange a wave for you. I can even make your name resound through the entire spiritual world the next day." "Forget it then. Let's find a place to sit." Zhang Tianyi said, "I need to ask you how you felt when you went through the heavenly tribulation, as well as the entire process of transcending the tribulation. I think Bifla also wants to know." The three of them found the rooftop of a half-collapsed building. The three of them sat down cross-legged. After a moment of silence, Chun Zhao began to describe the entire process of his heavenly tribulation. There were also the psychological and physical changes before and after. In fact, only after Zhang Tianyi's explanation did Chun Zhao realize that he was experiencing a heavenly tribulation. Chun Zhao didn't keep it to himself. Chun Zhao also knew that the title of the most powerful person in the world, or even the most powerful person in all of history, was very clear. But at the same time, there were many unknown dangers. Without a guide, he could only rely on his own exploration. Who knew when he would go berserk? But if there were one or two fellow travelers, everyone would discuss and explore with each other. Then perhaps the road would be easier to follow. However, Chun Zhao's heavenly tribulation was definitely a coincidence. Logically speaking, Chun Zhao shouldn't be undergoing the tribulation. Chun Zhao wasn't weaker than Zhang Tianyi, but he was still weaker. If there was a heavenly tribulation, it should be Zhang Tianyi. But Chun Zhao did it first. There were many coincidences in the process. If Chun Zhao hadn't been transported to the Scarlet Battlefield and sealed, then there wouldn't have been so many things later. Celestial Master Zhang, is that seal the key? According to what Chun Zhao said, can you use the seal to suppress it and then use it to trigger the heavenly tribulation? Can I do the same in the future? Bifla asked. Zhang Tianyi thought for a long while and shook his head. There are too many uncertain factors. For example, can I have Chun Zhao's ability to resist pressure? Another example is whether or not I can be like him, using the suppression of the seal to trigger the heavenly tribulation. Another example is whether or not I can withstand the heavenly tribulation after it descends. Also, can I be like him, absorbing the energy of the heavenly tribulation and turning it into my own? In other words, Chun Zhao's method isn't good? It's not, but it's worth studying. Zhang Tianyi said. Zhang Tianyi said, "Moreover, the three of us have different daos, so there's no point in blindly imitating him. There's no need to copy his method of triggering the heavenly tribulation. Even if I were to trigger the heavenly tribulation right now, I probably wouldn't have complete confidence in passing it. However, Chun Zhao's experiences are truly priceless treasures for us. Now that you mention it, I think I should open a paid course. It should be good." Zhang Tianyi and Bifla couldn't help but roll their eyes. Even if Chun Zhao really opened a paid course for the heavenly tribulation, the number of spiritualists who could understand it could be counted on one hand. As for the people who could really use it, apart from Zhang Tianyi and Bifla, only 23rd generation Blood Mary would be useful. By the way, you guys said before that the appearance of a Shangqing realm expert in a few hundred years is already considered the peak of the spiritual world. But in this era, the three of us, 23rd generation Blood Mary, and Old John, who's close to Shangqing realm, far surpasses any era in the past. Does this count as a flourishing era? Usually, the flourishing era of the spiritual world appears in the middle or late stages of the spiritual chi tide. Our era is only in the middle or early stages of the spiritual chi tide. Based on the density of the spiritual chi in the world, it's far from the peak of the spiritual world. If there's no special reason, it can only be a coincidence that several Shangqing realm experts have appeared in the world at the same time. Please don't tell me there's some demon king that needs many experts to work together to suppress him. That's why there are so many experts in this era. It's always like that in movies and TV shows. Maybe that's you. Everyone was in a good mood. As for the catastrophic damage that Chun Zhao had indirectly caused, the three didn't seem to care at all. Chun Zhao didn't feel guilty at all. It wasn't because of his subjective reasons anyway. Moreover, after the incident, Chun Zhao had actively reduced the damage. In terms of responsibility, Zhang Tianyi, as one of the people in charge, was definitely more responsible than him. Chapter 2297. Of course, this was just shirking the responsibility. But Chun Zhao, Zhang Tianyi, and even Bifla, who was not involved, did not take it to heart. On one hand, it was because their own people were unharmed. On the other hand, it was because in their minds, how could there be no casualties on the battlefield? In the previous disaster, after confirming that his sect of fire team was fine, Bifla helped Chun Zhao's team from the supernatural organization. So, the supernatural organization did not suffer any casualties. Then, the trial of the Battle of the Holy Glory was stopped, and the participants who survived this trial all obtained the right to advance. Actually, it was more like a new trial than an advancement. After all, there were too many unexpected factors in this trial causing many accidents. In the end, there were even large-scale casualties. Of course, the organizers of the Battle of the Holy Glory would not say a new trial. They would say that everyone advanced. But advancing meant that they had to go through a new trial. If they all advanced, none of them advanced. But the participants of the Battle of the Holy Glory could not do anything. Even though some teams had good results and some had bad results, they had survived the disaster. However, due to special circumstances, good luck, or sufficient strength, they managed to survive the catastrophe. Chun Zhao, the instigator, had left the desolate market earlier. Chun Zhao was resting in the hotel room when someone knocked on the door. Chun Zhao lay on the sofa and video-called Fei Lai and his child. Glancing at the door, dark lava extended and opened it. Chun Zhao remembered the man in black outside. He should be the 23rd Blood Mary's attendant. "Mr. Chun, Blood Mary wants to see you. Do you have time now?" "Wait," Chun Zhao said. "I'm talking to my family." "Okay. Can I wait for you here?" the man asked. "Close the door first." Chun Zhao was not happy to let an outsider listen to his conversation with his family. "Okay, I'll wait for you outside." The man did not reject or refute. He had only received orders to invite Chun Zhao. Whether Chun Zhao came or not, he could not be rude to Chun Zhao. Moreover, Blood Mary's tone was more cautious than last time. After the man closed the door, Chun Zhao continued chatting with Fei Lai. Little Jerlin and little Larissa were playing on Fei Lai's body, appearing in the camera from time to time. "All right, you seem to have a guest. We'll talk when you're free. Little Larissa, don't pull my hair. Okay. Chen Zhao nodded and hung up. After Fei Lai hung up, she angrily slapped little Larissa's short hands. Don't pull mommy's hair, mommy just did it. Just then, the butler system's voice sounded. Miss Fei Lai, there's an unfamiliar visitor outside. According to the profile scan, the visitor lives at Mountain Town number 559. His name is Clive, and he's a youth teacher. Fei Lai was a bit surprised, but as a neighbor, she still asked the butler system to unlock the door. At the same time, she stood up to greet her neighbor. Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. I'm Cliff. Cliff said, please forgive my sudden visit. I used to be Dee Dee's teacher. I heard that Dee Dee was adopted by you and your husband, so I came to see Dee Dee. If it's convenient, can you let me see Dee Dee's current situation? Mr. Cliff, thank you for taking care of Dee Dee. Fei Lai smiled. Please come in and take a seat. Fei Lai could feel Cliff's kindness. Cliff knew that Fei Lai was rich, but he was still shocked when he entered the manor. However, he was still shocked when he entered the manor. The living room was also technologically and luxuriously decorated. The inside of the manor was like a huge park. As the saying goes, the life of the rich is beyond the imagination of the poor. Through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, he could see a few children playing outside. It was obvious that the atmosphere of the family was quite good. Originally, Cliff had come to see if Dee Dee would be treated unfairly in the new family. Now, he had more or less given up on the idea. A while later, Fei Lai called Dee Dee down. Cliff also felt completely relieved after seeing Didira's spirit and appearance. It seemed that she was doing well here. Hello, Mr. Cliff. Hi, Dee Dee. Cliff nodded with a smile. After helping them get 2 drinks, Fei Lai went out to the yard. After catching up with Dee Dee for a while, Cliff got a general idea of Dee Dee's current situation. He learned that Dee Dee and her siblings had all become orphans due to an accident in the family. After that, they had all been adopted. This was also the conclusion of the discussion between Chen Zhao, Fei Lai, and the children. It was just that the supernatural part was slightly hidden. By the way, Mr. Chen isn't home? Uncle has a job overseas. He might be back in a few days. I see. Cliff nodded. Can Miss Fei Lai take care of you all by herself? If necessary, I can ask Amber to come and take care of you and your siblings. Thank you, but it's fine. I can take care of myself and my siblings for Aunt Fei Lai. Also, Uncle's assistant, Miss Portia, isn't here today. She usually comes to help. Well, alright then. If you need anything, you can contact me. Do you have my contact number? Yes, thank you, Mr. Cliff. Okay, I won't disturb you anymore. If you're free, you can visit Amber at my place. She misses you too. Auntie Fei Lai is busy arranging schools for us, so she's not free right now. After this, I'll visit you and Auntie Amber. Okay, say goodbye to Fei Lai for me. Okay. After Cliff left, Fei Lai came in. Dee Dee, how was your chat? Not bad. But Mr. Cliff seems much older than last time I saw him. Of course. After all, you haven't seen each other for a few years. Not that long. Last time, when Uncle and I went to the supermarket in town to buy Christmas presents, we saw him. It's so weird. It's been less than a month. Why do I feel like he's aged 10 years? Fei Lai thought about it. Cliff really did seem a bit haggard. Is he sick? I'm not sure, Auntie Fei Lai. I want to visit Mr. Cliff and his wife, Auntie Amber, sometime. Is that okay? Of course, but you'd better prepare a gift. I'll go with you to the supermarket tomorrow. Chapter 2298. The next day, Didira and Fei Lai went to the supermarket to buy 2 gifts. One was a tie for Clive, and the other was a scarf for Ampa. Let's go here. Fei Lai and Didira found Clive's house. A row of white fences surrounded the yard. Inside was a white 2-story house. Didira pressed the doorbell. Just then, the curtains in the house opened, and someone peeked inside. Then a woman ran out from the inside. You're Didira? Ampa quickly recognized Didira. Ms. Ampa, I'm Didira. I'm glad you still recognize me. I didn't expect you to be so old. Sorry, who's this? This is Auntie Phalai. Of course, she's my adoptive mother in name, Didira said with a smile. Hello, Ms. Phalai. I'm Ampa. Hello, Ms. Ampa. Ms. Ampa, don't you know that we live in Mountain Town too? Didira realized that Ampa was very surprised to see her. Didn't Mr. Clive tell you? He went to see me yesterday. Huh? Does Clive know? Never mind. Maybe Mr. Clive was too busy and didn't tell you about it. Phalai smiled and patted Didira's back. Ms. Ampa, Auntie Phalai and I are giving this to you and Mr. Clive. Ampa accepted the gift, looking a bit flustered and embarrassed. Sorry, the house is a bit messy. I'm afraid it's not convenient for you to come in. It's okay. We're just passing by and came to see you, Didira said considerately. Clive is in school right now and isn't home today. If it's okay, can you come this weekend? Or Clive and I can go over. Ampa looked at Didira nervously. She liked children and had a deep impression of Didira. For her, for every child she liked, she would fantasize about how great it would be if the child was hers. So Ampa was very happy that Didira came to see her. But there were some things in the house that she couldn't let them see. So Ampa was both happy and troubled. Of course, Phalai agreed for Didira. After all, Amber and Clive were not bad people. Although he didn't have much contact with them, he could tell that they weren't bad people. After exchanging contact information, Phalai left with Didira. Ampa stood in front of the door and watched Phalai and Didila's car drive away before he hurried back into the house. When Ampa returned to the room, he saw a large pot emitting green gas. Not bad, not bad. Ampa once again threw himself into the work of making magic potions. It was the same beach and the same umbrella. Chun and the 23rd generation Blood Mary sat under the parasol and watched the tide come and go. The 23rd Blood Mary was looking for Chun because she wanted to find out how Chun had gone through the heavenly tribulation. Even though Chun had already told Bifla and Zhang Tianyi about it, Chun was still worried about Zhang Tianyi. However, there were some details that Mary still wanted to ask Chun personally. She wasn't sure if she would be able to use these experiences in this life. However, to her, the heavenly tribulation that Chun had experienced was definitely a priceless treasure. Once she faced the same situation in the future, her chances of survival would greatly increase. Even if she couldn't use it herself, she could compile Chen's experience into a book and leave it for future generations to use. Regardless of the time, these contents would always play a role. I didn't expect you to be the first to break through, the 23rd generation Blood Mary said emotionally. The 23rd generation Blood Mary said emotionally, I thought it would be Zhang Tianyi, or at least me. I didn't break through. I'm still in the Shangqing state. At least that's what old Zhang said. We're both in the Shangqing state, but we're not on the same level. In terms of combat power, I'm indeed slightly higher, but there's no qualitative difference between us. It's like the difference between the ultimate transformation state and the Shangqing state. Taking the upper clarity realm as an example, the upper clarity realm is divided into 4 small realms: spiritual formation, embryonic breathing, sitting death, and spiritual solitude. You, Celestial Master Zhang, me, and Bifla are in the 4 small realms. You are in the spiritual solitude realm, Celestial Master Zhang is in the sitting death realm, I am in the embryonic breathing realm, and Bifla is in the spiritual formation realm. The first 3 small realms can actually be considered as the same level. Although there is a difference in our combat power, there is no difference in essence. Spiritual solitude realm is the most special level. It is completely different from the previous 3 small realms. What's different? I don't know. But I can feel that you're different. It's not that you're stronger or that you're more powerful. It's purely my personal perception. Old Zhang said that my cultivation is unprecedented, but since the 4 states of the Shangqing state have been clearly divided since ancient times, someone must have reached it in ancient times. Maybe some of the mythical figures in our legends reached my state. Celestial Master Zhang said that you're the number 1 person in all of history. There's no doubt about that. However, he was talking about the Near Ancient Era. The Near Ancient Era is divided into 3,000 years. This is also publicly acknowledged in the spirit world. Blood Mary said, "Before the modern times, there's also the ancient times, the primeval times, and the primeval times. There shouldn't be anyone in the ancient times who reached your current state. In the ancient times and the primeval times, some of the mythical figures that existed and have been passed down to this day are actually not human. Cultivation methods have been passed down, and they're constantly being perfected and innovated. But are the ancient cultivators stronger than the ones today? Is it because of the spiritual chi tide? That's one thing, but it's not absolute." Blood Mary said, "The factors of the environment and resources are all factors that affect the strength of the cultivators in that era. In times of chaos, it's very easy for the strong to be born. In the words of your Huaxia people, heroes are created by the times. Then could it be that there are actually people who are stronger than me, or even people who are at a higher level than me, but they've been hiding and keeping a low profile since ancient times? Of course it's possible. At your level, the laws and rules of the world have little effect on you. So there are indeed people who want to hide their whereabouts. Maybe there are people who are as strong as you among them." Chapter 2299. West led the group to Chun Zhao's hotel room and knocked on the door. Moore's hand was in a cast and bandage. The others were more or less injured too. Chun Zhao had already asked the hotel staff to prepare a table full of sumptuous dishes. He looked up at the group. "Sit down." The group didn't stand on ceremony. They sat down in a circle. Those who wanted to eat, those who wanted to drink, drank. "How's your situation?" Chun Zhao asked casually. The others were all busy eating. Only West said, "It's not good." "Huh? Why not?" "After participating in the Battle of Holy Glory this time, we discovered that our team's strength is probably at the second level of all the participating teams. Apart from the top few teams, we can basically deal with most of the teams, but apart from fighting, we're practically useless. Even in battle, our hands and feet are tied. We might not even be able to use 60% of our strength." "Do you know the problem?" "President, our problem is you." "Me?" "Yes, you." West nodded. "You've really influenced us too much. In the words of the Chinese, success was because of Xiao He, and failure was also because of Xiao He. Chun Zhao had succeeded the supernatural organization and made it from a nameless and even marginalized supernatural organization to the top supernatural organization in North America. In North America, there were basically no other organizations that could fight against the supernatural organization. But Chun Zhao's influence on the organization was too great. Everyone was used to fighting alongside Chun Zhao. This also restricted the organization. If the battlefield was only in North America, it wouldn't matter if Chun Zhao joined the battlefield or not. However, if it was a higher level battlefield or arena with a higher level opponent, then it would be a different story. Their habits would become their Achilles heel. Chun Zhao would always choose the strongest enemy. They would never have to worry about whether Chun Zhao could defeat the enemy. They were even worried that Chun Zhao's opponent would lose too quickly and Chun Zhao would join their battle. But when Chun Zhao wasn't by their side, everything was messed up. Chun Zhao and West communicated. Chun Zhao roughly understood the problem West was talking about. Actually, everyone had already felt it in the past. However, at that time, no one had truly realized the severity of the situation. It wasn't until this moment that they felt it most directly. In the past, when West was leading the team, he kept emphasizing that he didn't want Chun Zhao to interfere. But they also knew that Chun Zhao could intervene at any time. But it was different this time. The rules restricted Chun Zhao and also restricted them. In a trial of this scale, the help Chun Zhao could provide them was very limited. Even if Chun Zhao had a way for them to cheat, he wouldn't do it. It wasn't because Chun Zhao was fair and just, but because it was meaningless. What they wanted was neither a title nor a reward. What they needed was a trial to prove themselves. "President, do you know about the anomaly in the wasteland market? Yesterday's terrifying earthquake in the desolate market." "If I say I don't know, would you believe me? That super earthquake had something to do with you?" Of course, West didn't believe it. Also, from Chun Zhao's expression, the earthquake wasn't just related to him. It was even possible that Chun Zhao was the main cause of this disaster. Chun Zhao ignored West's question. Hele Eyes, if I give you a god's body, can you make it into a zombie puppet? Everyone turned to look at Chun Zhao. Guild leader, did you kill another god? No. Chun Zhao shook his head and told them what he'd experienced in the desolate market. Everyone listened with their mouths agape. They'd thought that they'd already experienced many ups and downs in the desolate market trial. But after hearing Chun Zhao's words, they didn't know what to say anymore. Was what they'd done a trial? Compared to Chun Zhao, they felt like they were playing house. I killed that red demon and the god's body became my spoils of war. President, let me see it. Hele Eyes was very interested in the god's body. Ruan, go set up a magic seal to seal the aura, West said. Ruan nodded. He also wanted to see the god's body first. He even wanted to get some materials from God's body. But he still went to set up the magic seal obediently. A while later, Chun Zhao took out the god's body. Even though it was a corpse, the majestic power it contained made everyone's heart palpitate. Chun Zhao looked up at Hele Eyes. What do you think? Can I? If you can, it's yours. Hele Eyes shook her head regretfully. If she could, she'd be happy to make a god's body into her puppet. But she didn't have enough power. President, I can't do it. Can't do it? Is it because you don't have enough magic? Or do you need a lot of time? Chun Zhao asked. Neither. It's the divinity in the god's body. As long as it exists, it can't fall or be corroded by my death magic. Is there a way to get rid of the divinity? President, let's not talk about whether there's a way to get rid of the divinity. Even if there's a way, the body's value will be greatly reduced, Ruan said. Ruan Faxaban said, the reason why this corpse is the body of God is that it contains divinity. Without this divinity, it is just a relatively strong corpse. So it's useless? Chun Zhao asked, disappointed. President, give me the corpse. Ruan Faxi was so excited that he almost lost control. A god's body. It was even rarer than a dragon. No, to him, dragons weren't rare at all. The Dragon Balls in the Supernatural Organization's warehouse were enough for them to play with. Even if they wanted to drink dragon bone soup every day, it wouldn't be a problem. But a god's body was different. After all, even if Chun Zhao killed a god, there were no gods in the world for him to kill. It wasn't the era of gods anymore. That was why this god's body was so precious. What a waste, West said. He didn't know what this god's body could be used for. West wasn't worried about blaspheming gods. He didn't fear gods at all. But if it was used by Ruan Faxben for all kinds of experiments, or even cut into pieces by him, it was simply a blasphemy against a rare treasure. Chapter 2300. No, I'm not going to put this body in a container. I've heard that there are legends about God's blood all over the world. In some legends, people who drink God's blood will have divine power. In some legends, God's blood can make people immortal. Therefore, I want to extract something valuable from God's blood. Ruan Faxi didn't hide his intentions. He said it openly. He knew that there was no point in lying to Chun Zhao and West. He might even lose his chance completely. Furthermore, if he had obtained the body of this god through deceit, he would not have been able to do so. What if Chun Zhao found out? Fight Chun Zhao head-on? Stop joking. Ruan Faxi knew very well that his head would be twisted off and kicked like a ball. After that, he might be resurrected by Helis. Of course, it wouldn't be a normal resurrection. There's very little God's blood in this God's body. It's pitifully little. The body looked like a normal person's. The skin was firm and shiny. In reality, it was just a dried corpse. There was probably only a few mouthfuls of saliva left in its body. President, science is always accompanied by certain risks, but if we aren't willing to take on even this little risk, science will never progress, Ruan Faxi said righteously. We're not talking about science now. We're talking about theology and alchemy. It's anti-science. That's true, but the logic is the same, right? Ruan Faxi wasn't a person who gave up easily. Plus, if he tried hard, he wouldn't lose anything whether he succeeded or not. Investments need returns. If you can control this god's body and make use of it, I don't mind giving it to you, because your increased combat power also belongs to the supernatural organization. But if you experiment with it, it's fine if you succeed, but if you fail, you won't even get your money back. President, even if you're a financial man, investing is risky. That's why I never invest in finance. Ruan Faxi didn't even have the chance to say the lines he'd prepared. But people should be adventurous, right? I like to live a stable life. West glanced at Ruan Faxben and said, Ruan, you're using the god's blood for an experiment. You should at least explain what you can research and what we can obtain. After all, there are probably only a few portions of the god's blood in the world. You're just saying that you can refine something valuable. Isn't that a little too disrespectful? To put it bluntly, both Chun Zhao and the supernatural organization were like investors. On the other hand, Ruan was more like a fanatical scientist. Businessmen pursued profits, while scientists pursued discoveries. They weren't on the same channel at all. West was actually speaking up for Ruan Faxben. Although Ruan Faxi was a fanatical alchemist, he wasn't an idiot. He understood the meaning behind West's words. President, I think the most basic research is enough to create a potion that can increase the power of the supernatural organization. I'm confident about that, but if we want to study the effects of the god's blood, we'll need some formulas. What kind of formula? I'm not sure, Ruan Faxben said. There are related legends all over the world, Ruan Faxben said. At the same time, there are a few recipes that use divine blood as the main ingredient. If I can find and obtain those recipes, it will be of great help to my research. Chun Zhao and West glanced at each other. West nodded slightly and said, President, how about this? We'll temporarily increase the power of all the members of the supernatural organization as Ruan's minimum requirement. The time limit is 1 year. Also, we'll help him search for related formulas around the world, so he can study the god's blood further. Sure, but for now we'll focus on the god's blood. I still hope to keep the god's body intact. If anyone can use the god's body to increase their power in the future, the god's body will belong to them. Actually, Chun Zhao was more inclined to give the god's body to Helith. If she could use it, she'd benefit the most directly. But Helith said that she couldn't use it, so Chun Zhao couldn't do anything. Just then, the demon knife that Dongye Tianxi had placed beside his chair suddenly emitted a cloud of smoke that enveloped him. White Face Ghost controlled Dongye Tianxi's body. Dongye Tianxi turned into a warrior. President. White Mask gave Chun Zhao a 90-degree bow respectfully. Of course, White Face Ghost wasn't here to cause trouble. Causing trouble in front of Chun Zhao and the 10 members of the supernatural organization was asking for trouble. What is it? President. I hope that I can slash this body. Everyone rolled their eyes. Chun Zhao said that he wanted to keep the god's body intact. White Face Ghost ran out and said that he wanted to cut him once. Why? I want to obtain more power, White Face Ghost said righteously. I also want to serve the president and the supernatural organization better. You only need to cut this body once? Yes, I am a demon blade. To me, I can only slash humans and monsters. However, if I can slash a god, I will be able to rise to a higher level. I will become a demon blade that can slash gods. Chun Zhao raised an eyebrow. There's such a thing? Yes, so please allow my request, Lord President. Chun Zhao didn't agree to White Face Ghost's request immediately. Instead, he asked Dongye Tianxi, Dongye Tianxi, can you sense his intentions? Dongye Tianxi had been possessed by White Face Ghost, but he still maintained his consciousness. Dongye Tianxi's appearance returned to normal. President, I can feel Demon Knife's desire and anticipation. For now, he's loyal to you. To Demon Knife, there was no such thing as eternal loyalty. Once a demon knife was so powerful that its master couldn't control it, it would either kill its master or change its master. This was why Dongye Tianxi said that Demon Knife was temporarily loyal to Chun Zhao. If the white-faced ghost reaches the level of God Slayer, can you control him? As long as the president is here, He'll never dare to disobey me. What's your intention? After all, Dongye Tianqi was the one who used white-face ghost the most, so Chen Zhao was more willing to listen to his suggestions. President, I hope you can agree to Demon Knife's request. If he dares to disobey you one day, I'll personally bury him. Chapter 2301. Dongye Tianqi wasn't just a warrior. He was also a blacksmith and a swordsmith. He didn't just know swordsmanship. He also knew the knife burial spell. This was a spell that every swordsmith in Japan knew. From the first day the demon blade appeared, the knife burial spell was born. The knife burial spell was a spell that swordsmiths used to deal with demon blades. The first swordsmith forged the first demon blade. It was a bad omen and sealed the blade's soul. The demon blade wasn't willing to be sealed, so it killed its master and killed the swordsmith. In the end, the demon blade fell into eternal silence. The swordsmith also died to the demon blade he had forged. The swordsmith's name was White Cloak Workshop. The demon blade was called Not Evil. Of course, usually, the demon blade would inherit the swordsmith's surname. This was why the first demon blade was called White Cloak Not Evil. This legend was very widespread in Japan. For every swordsmith it was like group training. As soon as the demon blade appeared, it would be sealed and its soul would be buried. But now, swordsmiths didn't believe in this anymore. In fact, most swordsmiths wanted to forge a demon blade to prove their ability. Dongye Tianqi spoke up for White Mask. It was because the stronger White Mask was, the stronger he was. In the supernatural organization, which was getting stronger by the day, his power was no longer on the list. Apart from Chen Zhao, the top echelons like Gaia, Helis, and Norma couldn't keep up either. Originally, he was a core force in the second echelon. But the people chasing after him gave him more and more pressure. He might even fall to the third echelon. This gave him a lot of pressure. Actually, Chen Zhao and the others didn't look down on Dongye Tianqi because of this. After all, Chen Zhao had recruited him because of his forging skills, not his combat ability. Moreover, Dongye Tianqi's forging skills were very useful in the supernatural organization. Do I just need to cut the body? Chen Zhao asked. No. Actually, the process is a bit complicated. How complicated? There's a lot of preparation work, Dongye Tianqi said. We can't perform the god-slaying ritual here. Is it a ritual? Chen Zhao was surprised. Yes, of course. If he was a living god, there would be no need to go through so much trouble. Just slash him once. But he's just a corpse, so a certain amount of preparation is needed. Okay. We'll talk about it when we get back. Chen Zhao nodded. Guild leader, we would like to inquire about the contents of the next trial so that we can prepare ourselves. Not yet, Chen Zhao said. I'll go ask later. After everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, they stood up and bade farewell. As soon as West and the others left, Baifla came to Chen Zhao's room. Chen Zhao didn't know how he got in. Before the door even opened, he had appeared in the room out of nowhere. I know what the next trial is about, Baifla said. Chen Zhao glanced at Baifla. What do you want to tell me? I don't need anything. What you've communicated with me before is already enough. This time, Baifla was very straightforward. Due to the disaster caused by your battle with the Red Devil, nearly 200 spiritualists lost their lives. Therefore, the trial this time will be more focused on safety. So many people died. That disaster is far more serious than you can imagine, Baifla said. Baifla said, right now Celestial Master Zhang, the 23rd Blood Mary, and Wendy are constantly comforting the elders and families of those who have died because of this matter. Therefore, the third trial has to be a safer and more reliable one. What's the third trial? Wendy also opened up an alternate dimension. The scale of this alternate dimension isn't as large as the Wasteland Market, but it's more lively than the Wasteland Market. It's called the Four Seasons Palace, and the third trial will be held there. The content of the trial is to defeat Wendy, 23rd Blood Mary, and Celestial Master Zhang's clone, respectively. What kind of clone? Chen Zhao asked, surprised. Zhang Tianyi had learned the clone spell from him. Chen Zhao didn't know Wendy and hadn't interacted with him before, so he didn't know how strong he was. However, he didn't know what Blood Mary's clone spell was like. But with their abilities, no matter how weak their clones were, they wouldn't be too weak. Was it possible to defeat 3 of their clones? Actually, they're not real clones. They're 3 puppets with their magic power and are completely controlled by the 3 of them. In terms of magic power alone, the 3 puppets are above average, but they're very special. As long as it's a spell that the 3 controllers can use, they can use it too. That's why they're called clones. In other words, they have their consciousness and magic, but their magic power is at the same level as the participants, right? You can say that, but more accurately, their magic power is lower than the participants. Even so, the Holy Glory participants probably can't beat them, right? For example, Old Man Zhang Tianyi. Just give him a little bit of magic power and he might be able to kill his opponent directly. Don't underestimate the participants. There are many geniuses among them. They're not as weak as you think. This has nothing to do with underestimating them. It's the truth. If I don't say it, will they really beat Zhang Tianyi? Even if it's his clone. They don't necessarily need to beat Celestial Master Zhang. Bifla said, in fact, as long as they defeat Wendy's clone puppet, they can win the ticket to the next round. As for the 23rd generation Blood Mary and Celestial Master Zhang's clone puppet, the more outstanding their performance, the greater the advantage they'll get. To put it bluntly, this trial is actually to eliminate the bad seeds and select the best participants for the next trial. How strong is Wendy? Top-level magic power, but not yet at the Shangqing realm. He should be considered a second-level powerhouse. But his strongest point is his alchemy magic. His clone puppet can also use alchemy? Of course. Those 3 clones were all made by him. They were prepared for this trial. Do you think he didn't consider this problem? This looks like a guarding ring. If you pass one, you can go to the next. This is not an arena. The final event of the Holy Glory battle is an arena. It's been like this in previous years. There's really an arena? Of course, and the final arena is a one-on-one battle. All the remaining members of the team will be reshuffled and randomly ranked. Then they will compete in an elimination arena. Chapter 2302. On the weekend, Feilai brought the kids to Clive's house. Feilai realized that Clive and Ampa had many kids too. Mr. Clive, are they your kids? Feilai asked, confused. She remembered that Clive had said that he and his wife couldn't have children. They're Ampa's and my adopted children, Clive said. Ampa really likes kids, but she'll never have them, so she can only adopt them. Clive looked at his kids playing with Feilai's kids. He liked them too, but he was more rational than his wife. Ampa still couldn't accept reality. Clive knew very well that they would never have children. Clive looked at Feilai. What about you? Why did you adopt so many kids? They're related to my husband. They're not complete strangers, Feilai said. Instead of sending them to an orphanage, it's better for us to take care of them. Ampa was busy giving candy and snacks to the kids. Since Ampa had planned for today's gathering, he was well prepared. At least the kids had enough food. Clive, where are you working now? Feilai remembered that Ampa had said last time that Clive was in school. He should be a teacher there. I'm a physics teacher at Mountain Town Middle School, Clive said. Oh, I remember Didala saying that you're preparing the enrollment procedures for the kids, right? Didala should be going to middle school, right? Yes. Feilai and Chun Zhao were considering whether to arrange a noble school or a regular school for the kids. Of course, the so-called noble school didn't mean that only nobles could attend. Real noble schools focused on elite education. But if they sent the kids to a noble school, they would lose the fun of regular kids. If it was a regular school, it would definitely be a school in Mountain Town. The middle schools and elementary schools in Mountain Town were average. The education level and teachers were below average. Whether it was a noble school or an ordinary school, it could be said that there were pros and cons. This was why Qin Zhao and Feilai were hesitant. The way of thinking and the world view of the children raised in these 2 schools was as different as heaven and earth. Feilai shared what was bothering her with Clive. Miss Feilai, it depends on what you expect of them. Cliff said, I used to be a teacher in a noble school for 3 years. I know the environment and teaching methods of a noble school. To be honest, most children, or even all children, should not receive that kind of education. There's something wrong with the education of the noble schools? The problem is very big. Cliff said, there was once a teacher who gave his students an assignment to cheat their parents of $100, no matter the means. This kind of education has already violated the law, right? Yes, that's true. But there are about 2,000 elite schools in the United States, and all of them use this kind of education method. Extreme and extreme education methods. In the future, most of the children who graduate from these schools will be able to get into famous universities or get a good job, but they will lose their bottom line. Miss Feilai, you want the children to have a complete childhood and have their own social life. But social life in a noble school is more about networking, not childhood friendships. You are right. Feilai nodded. At this time, Didi's voice came from the courtyard. Little Jerlin, you can't touch that. Ampa saw little Jerlin and Didi in the courtyard. Then, he saw that Jerlin was holding a plant that looked like weeds in her hand, and his expression immediately changed. Baby, throw this away. Ampa rushed over in a hurry. It was a magic plant she had planted in the courtyard. This magic plant had a very strong curse effect. But Jerlin did not care and directly stuffed the magic plant into her mouth. This time, everyone was anxious. Didi picked up Jerlin anxiously and pinched her chin. Spit it out. Don't. Little Jerlin pushed Didira's palm away. She did not care and swallowed it. Jerlin was used to it at home. She had almost peeled off a layer of grass. She dared to stuff plants and bugs into her mouth. Most of the time, no one cared about her. After all, as long as it was harmless, eating it would not be a big problem. Amber and Clive also saw little Jerlin swallow the magic plant. They were a little flustered. Miss Feilai, something's wrong. The plant Jerlin ate is poisonous. Carrying Jerlin, Didi came to Feilai anxiously. Feilai's expression also became panicked. Poisonous? Deadly poison? It's very troublesome, Didi said with a serious expression. At this time, Ampa rummaged in the drawer and found a bottle of medicine. Give Jerlin this. It can neutralize the plant's poison. This is... Of course, Feilai could not accept this medicine of unknown origin. I'll take my daughter to the hospital. Miss Ampa, Mr. Cliff, I'm sorry, but we need to go. Ampa hesitated for a moment and still stuffed the medicine into Feilai's hands. If it doesn't work after going to the hospital, or if Jerlin has epileptic symptoms, use this. Feilai thought for a moment and still accepted the medicine. Feilai carried Jerlin into the car, while Didi was responsible for taking the other children away. Feilai had only driven a short distance with Jerlin when she received Didira's call. Miss Feilai, that medicine should be the antidote. Antidote? Little Jerlin ate a void spirit herb, a magical plant. The void spirit herb can force a person's soul out of their body. You're saying that Jerlin ate a magic plant? Yes, Didi replied over the phone. And I can feel that the potion Lady Ampa just gave you should be a magic potion. Are they spiritualists too? I'm not sure. I didn't know that they were spiritualists before. They've never shown it to me. Should I tell your uncle? Feilai asked. It's best. I don't think Miss Ampa and Mr. Cliff have any bad intentions, but Jerlin ate their things by mistake, so I still need to let him know. That's true. Feilai accepted Didi's suggestion. After all, she did not know magic at all. Didi was also not familiar with other systems of magic. So, she should let Qin Zhao know. Divine King of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 2303. What? Jerlin was poisoned? Qin Zhao jumped up. How is she now? I'll go back now. Bifla glanced at Qin Zhao. The two of them had teamed up to roam the streets of Istanbul again. Something happened at home, Qin Zhao said immediately. I have to go back. I've been a professional doctor for a long time, Bifla said. I've studied ancient and modern medicine. Do you need me to go with you? Chen Zhao thought about it. He was a doctor too. But he didn't know what was going on with Jerlin, so he decided to take Bifla with him. Perhaps Jerlin's problem was very troublesome. Perhaps he couldn't solve it, but Bifla could. Sure, I'll take you. You're not planning to fly back to LA, are you? Bifla looked at Chen Zhao in surprise. What? Is it okay? You can fly at high speed for a long time? Can you fly faster than a plane? Yes. For us, there's no upper limit to magic power. Why not? Okay, I haven't tried long-distance flying before. Plus, my flying speed hasn't been that high. Then I'll let you experience extreme flying speed. How about that? Chen Zhao grinned. Sure. I'd like to see how fast you can take me. Chen Zhao grabbed Bifla. Bifla was also ready in an instant. Instantly, Bifla felt a huge pressure pressing down on him. Chen Zhao had already turned into a beam of light. He dragged Bifla into the sky. Right now, in Istanbul at night, one could clearly see a beam of light flying up from below, passed through the night and disappeared into the distance. Fast. Too fast. Even Bifla felt the pressure. Bifla watched the disappearing lights of the city fly away. In just a few seconds, Chen Zhao and Bifla were already on the sea. The direct distance from Istanbul to LA was about 11,000 kilometers. They had to pass through the Black Sea and then the Tyrrhenian Sea. Then they had to pass through the Strait of Gibraltar and enter the North Atlantic. To avoid being detected by high-altitude satellites, Chen Zhao flew at a low altitude, close to sea level. Bifla could only use his senses to determine his current direction. He couldn't even open his eyes. About 2 or 3 minutes later, Bifla clearly felt his speed decrease. Bifla opened its eyes and found an unfamiliar city in front of it. That is LA, Chen Zhao said. What's your flying speed? I haven't calculated it, but it should be over Mach 180. Bifla sucked in a breath of cold air. He himself was not proficient in flying in the first place. His own speed was about 100 kilometers per hour. However, Chen Zhao had crossed the Pacific Ocean in less than 2 minutes. This speed was already explosive. This is the speed of my brand new form after transcending the calamity. It wasn't this fast before. I tested my speed with a professional speed measuring device before, and it's about Mach 45. Bifla was once again astonished. Even the speed from before was beyond his reach. Chen Zhao's speed just now had probably reached dozens of kilometers per second. That was almost 1,000 times faster than his flying speed. When he reached the sea outside Los Angeles, he slowed down, but he was still shockingly fast. A moment later, they landed outside Mirror Lake Manor. Just then, Feilai rushed out of the house. Chun, you're back so soon? Feilai was surprised too. She'd thought that no matter how fast Chen Zhao was, he would need a few hours to get back. After all, she had no idea how fast Chen Zhao was. Plus, Chen Zhao was far away in Istanbul. Yes, Feilai. This is Bifla, my friend. Hello, madam. Bifla nodded slightly. Hello. How's little Jerlin? Feilai told Chen Zhao about the situation. Jerlin doesn't seem to have any symptoms. She's still jumping around. Chen Zhao and Bifla entered the manor. Jerlin was still running around and playing around. Your daughter is very active, Bifla said meaningfully. Did she take stimulants? This joke isn't funny at all. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Wow, Dad. Seeing Chen Zhao return, Jerlin pounced on his leg excitedly and hugged him. Chen Zhao held Jerlin in his arms. Darling, I heard that you're eating random food again. Humph, it doesn't taste good at all. Do you usually find good food in the yard? Those who didn't know would think that Chen Zhao abused Jerlin and didn't give her enough to eat, so she had to look for random food in the yard. Jerlin thought back seriously. After a while, she answered, I don't think so. While the father and daughter were talking, Chen Zhao was also secretly checking Jerlin's body. But after a long time, Chen Zhao didn't find anything wrong with Jerlin. Little Jerlin still looked healthy. Chen Zhao glanced at Bifla. Darling, this is Uncle Bifla. Uncle Bifla. Jerlin gave Bifla a bright and sweet smile. Hello, darling. Bifla put on a rare gentle smile and opened his arms. Do you want me to hug you? Jerlin was outgoing and not afraid of strangers at all. Uncle Bifla, hug. Bifla took the opportunity to take Jerlin and check her body at the same time. However, just like Chunjiao, he couldn't find anything wrong with little Jerlin even after checking for a long time. Do you still have the potion Cliff gave you? Did you give it to Jerlin? No. Fei Lai shook her head. I don't know if it's harmful, so I didn't dare to use it. Fei Lai handed the potion to Chunjiao. Chunjiao sniffed it first. It had a faint fragrance, but he didn't find anything wrong with it. Let me see. Bifla took the potion from Chunjiao. Yes, this is spirit summoning water. It's the antidote to the void spirit grass. There's nothing else. Does Jerlin need the spirit summoning water now? Chunjiao asked. I'm not sure, Bifla said hesitantly. If a normal person consumes the void spirit grass, their soul will directly leave their body, and they need to be summoned back with the spirit summoning water. However, your daughter doesn't show any symptoms of the void spirit grass. Then is she okay now? I'm not sure. Bifla didn't dare to come to a conclusion. After all, she was Chunjiao's descendant. He'd never encountered something like this. Who knew if something would happen to Jerlin afterwards? Has she come into contact with other spells? Not yet. Chapter 2304. Not finding a problem didn't mean there was no problem, especially a child. Chunjiao's child. So, Chunjiao couldn't let his guard down. You don't have any ideas? I can find Celestial Master Zhang or 23rd Blood Mary and ask them to check. Chunjiao thought about it. He didn't have any other ideas now. He could only keep Jerlin by his side. He could go to Istanbul and find Celestial Master Zhang or 23rd Blood Mary and ask them to check. Of course, Chunjiao didn't have to find a problem with Jerlin. But in his current situation, he wouldn't feel at ease if he didn't find a problem. Fei Lai, I'll take Jerlin to Istanbul. Chun, sorry, I didn't take good care of Jerlin. No one wants this to happen, Chunjiao said. It's not anyone's fault. If anyone's at fault, it's Jerlin. After giving some instructions to Fei Lai, Chunjiao hurried to Istanbul with Jerlin. Help me carry Jerlin. Also, protect her, Chunjiao said. When Chunjiao used energization, he could bring people along, but he couldn't use protective spells. For example, when he'd brought Bifla to L.A., Bifla had suffered quite a bit on the way. Based on his speed, Jerlin couldn't handle it. Bifla was happy to carry Jerlin. Daddy, fly! Seeing Chunjiao and Bifla carry her higher and higher, Jerlin screamed in excitement. Jerlin, close your eyes. When you open them again, you'll find yourself in Istanbul, Bifla said gently. Chunjiao glanced at Bifla. You seem to know how to get along with children. I was once a father too. Chunjiao didn't continue asking. After all, Bifla was over 400 years old. His child didn't have Bifla's abilities. It was very likely that he'd passed away with time. Therefore, this should be a very sad topic for him. When Bifla carried Jerlin, the control of his arms made him seem more like a father. Chunjiao didn't slow down because Bifla would protect Jerlin. Jerlin gradually fell asleep in Bifla's arms. She was snoring softly and seemed to have fallen asleep. Soon, Chunjiao and Bifla arrived in Istanbul. Back at the hotel, Bifla patted little Jerlin lightly. My dear, it's time to wake up. Bifla did not wake little Jerlin. Chunjiao took Jerlin. Forget it. Let her sleep. Bifla nodded. I'll go find Celestial Master Zhang and the 23rd Generation Blood Mary. Yes, thank you. After Befora left, Chunjiao stayed by Jerlin's side. Jerlin was sound asleep, but after waiting for 2 hours, Chunjiao felt a little uneasy, because Jerlin was sleeping too soundly. Usually, a child of little Jerlin's age would throw a tantrum. Sometimes it was too cold or too hot. Or if she had a nightmare, she would cry in her sleep. Both little Jerlin and little Larissa were in the same situation. Most children have this condition, and there was no way to stop it. But little Jerlin was sleeping too soundly today. Chun Zhao walked to Jerlin's side and gently patted her cheek. Jerlin, wake up. It's time for breakfast. If a child didn't have enough sleep, she would cry too. If she had enough sleep, she would wake up quickly if she heard the sound of food in her sleep. However, Chun Zhao called out twice, but little Jerlin was still asleep. She was still snoring softly. Chun Zhao finally confirmed that something was wrong with Jerlin. Chun Zhao immediately picked up the phone. Bifla, where's old Zhang and the 23rd generation Blood Mary? They're busy. I'll have to wait for a while. Bring them here immediately. Jerlin is still sleeping. I can't wake them up no matter how hard I call. Chun Zhao's tone was hurried. How's her breathing? Her heart rate? I've already checked. Her breathing and heart rate are normal. Her temperature is normal, her complexion is normal, and her soul is normal too. It hasn't left her body, but she just can't wake up. Just then, Zhang Tianyi took Bifla's call. Chun Zhao, how's your daughter? I don't know. She just can't wake up. It wouldn't be too big of a problem if it was just eating the void spirit grass by mistake. However, I've heard Bifla's description just now. Your daughter's situation seems to be a little different. Normally, if an ordinary person eats a void spirit grass by mistake, they'll experience symptoms of an out-of-body experience very quickly. Furthermore, your daughter isn't even 2 years old yet, so the symptoms should be more obvious. Zhang Tianyi said hesitantly, just tell me if you have a solution. Chun Zhao was in a bad mood. I'll go over now, Zhang Tianyi said. A while later, Zhang Tianyi and Bifla arrived at the hotel Chun Zhao was staying at. After arriving at the hotel, the first thing Zhang Tianyi saw was little Jerlin sleeping soundly on the bed. It wasn't his first time seeing her. Your daughter's soul is sleeping, not her body. Zhang Tianyi made his judgment at first glance. The void spirit grass seems to have a special effect in your daughter's body. It didn't make her soul leave her body, but it became a soul hypnosis effect. This is too strange. Normally, in order for a magic plant to have other effects, the plant has to have contact with magic. However, there's no magic in your daughter's body, nor are there any signs of contact with magic. Zhang Tianyi looked at Chun Zhao and asked for confirmation. She really hasn't practiced magic before, right? No. Chun Zhao shook his head. Do you have a solution? There are many ways to awaken the soul, but most of them aren't suitable for your daughter. Most of them aren't suitable. In other words, there's still a small portion of them, right? Right now, I can't even confirm your daughter's symptoms. Do I dare to make a choice? Zhang Tianyi looked at Chun Zhao helplessly. Even if Chun Zhao said that he didn't have to bear any responsibility, Zhang Tianyi didn't know where to start. He really didn't dare to do anything. If he could wake Jerlin up, everything would be fine. If there were any unexpected changes, then the benefactor would immediately become the enemy. When Blood Mary comes, Zhang Tianyi said, let her take a look. Chun Zhao was very unhappy, but he didn't know who he should be angry at. Suppressing his anger, he sat on the sofa quietly. But his expression was enough to explain his current mood. Not long after, the 23rd generation Blood Mary arrived. When he entered, he saw everyone with different expressions. In the end, his gaze landed on little Jerlin. Ha! Chapter 2305. Little Jerlin is in the process of awakening. You guys are the most powerful people in the world. Do you really need me to judge something like this? 23rd looked at everyone in surprise. Awakening? Impossible. There's no sign of magic power on her at all. Zhang Tianyi immediately rejected 23rd's judgment. She's awakened the nirvanic power. Zhang Tianyi frowned. Bifla studied little Jerlin carefully. Chun Zhao was confused. What's the nirvanic power? It's an extremely special magic system. Only witches who awaken this kind of magic talent can learn and use it, 23rd said. Have you guys never heard of it? I've heard of it, but I've never seen it, Zhang Tianyi said. Plus, I don't know what's so special about the nirvanic witches. Of course, I can't judge. So my daughter is awakening? Did something happen? Chun Zhao suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. The Night of Awakening was extremely dangerous for other people and spiritualists. But it wasn't a problem for Chun Zhao at all. He could even deal with little Larissa's extraordinary third night. He was more than 100 times stronger than before. So, he wasn't worried if he could deal with little Jerlin's Night of Awakening. There are many special awakenings in history, and they all have a common characteristic. On the Night of Awakening, the attacks are much scarier than usual. The Night of Awakening of the Nirvanic, which is also one of the special awakenings, is called the scariest Night of Awakening. 23rd looked at Chun Zhao. The Night of Awakening of the Nirvanic, which is also called the Nirvanic Night. This might be the cruelest battle in your life. Actually, there are always 1 or 2 Nirvanic witches in every era, but only 3 have passed the Nirvanic Night and survived. The other 2 aren't famous. They're powerful, but they haven't become famous. However, the most ancient Nirvanic which has been heard of in the spiritual world. Her name is Lilith. How strong will the Nirvanic Night be? Chun Zhao asked. Tell me everything. Chun Zhao was confident in his abilities. The 23rd generation also knew his own strength. But she still used such a cautious tone to warn him. This meant that the Nirvana Night was not as simple as he had imagined. The Nirvana Night, which awakens on the first night, is 100 times more terrifying than the awakening on the third night. Those 2 unknown Nirvana witches are the first night, and it is said that Lilith is the second night. Lilith is known as the evilest witch not because she bewitched Cain to kill people in the Bible, but because she released the demons. The demons were released by her into the human world, and it was also because of her that Europe's Dark Age began. I heard that the witch Lilith seems to be the ancestor of the vampires. There are many legends about Lilith the witch, and there are also legends about her being a vampire. All these indicate the Europeans' hatred for Lilith. What happened to her? A crusade? Or was it sealed? Disappeared. The 23rd Blood Mary said. Blood Mary, the 23rd generation, said, the mortal armies of that era were nothing but ants to her, and the church was still very weak back then. They didn't even have the right to face her, let alone attack her. The most powerful religions of that era were the Druids and Shamans, as well as some other random religions. The Druids and Shamans tried to attack Lilith many times, but they all failed. Even the church was able to develop and grow stronger because the Shamans tried to attack Lilith many times, which angered Lilith, and she attacked the headquarters of the Shamans. At that time, the upper echelons of the Shamans suffered heavy losses, and the inheritance of advanced shaman magic was almost cut off. A large part of the shaman sphere of influence at that time overlapped with the current sphere of influence of the church. After that battle, the shamans were almost wiped out, and the church replaced them. The 23rd generation Blood Mary paused for a moment before continuing. However, Lilith disappeared completely at some point in time. There was no information about a certain battle, nor was there any crusade. She just disappeared without a trace. Maybe she got tired of the conflict and went into seclusion? That woman was a terrifying existence that tried to turn the human world into hell. How could she get tired of conflict? Zhang Tianyi said. The Western magic system was learned from demons, and she was the first person to summon demons to the human world. So, it shouldn't be a problem to say that she's the founder of ancient magic. I don't want to admit it, but she started the Dark Ages of Europe and the modern history of magic in Europe. The 30 years that she existed was also the period when magic developed the fastest. Magic in that era developed in an explosive way, and almost all the embryonic forms of modern magic appeared in that era. Chun Zhao thought for a moment and said, "You guys seem to be talking about Lilith, but she doesn't seem to have anything to do with my daughter's silent night. It was supposed to be unrelated, but in the few notes or manuscripts left by the 2 annihilation witches after Lilith, it was recorded that they had met Lilith on the night of silent destruction." Seen her? Chun Zhao frowned. What do you mean by seen her? Literally, Blood Mary said. The 23rd generation Blood Mary said. Their notes didn't mention much about this. They only mentioned that they had met Lilith in the silent night. However, they didn't mention whether the so-called meeting was for a battle or some other purpose. The 3 Nirvana witches before your daughter lived in different eras. Let's talk about how the first Nirvana witch, or even the first witch, managed to live for so long, yet she showed up in the Night of Silence after the other 2 Nirvana witches. I'm afraid it wasn't because she wanted to see her descendant, so I think it's highly possible that she's up to no good. If you're prepared to help your daughter survive the Night of Silence, you have to be prepared to fight the first Nirvana witch, said Zhang Tianyi. Chun Zhao then looked at Blood Mary. What's the special characteristic of the so-called Nirvana spell? And how powerful is that demoness? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.